Welcome back to Nerd Shit in the Dark, the shittiest podcast on the internet. And we are here tonight for an episode that I've been talking about for quite some time. We planned this months ago now, and I brought it up on the podcast. So joining me tonight on the podcast is a good friend of mine, Ernie, the Ern, Huff. Ernie, say hi to the shitters.
How's it going, shitters? Happy to be here. Definitely something we've been talking about for a long time.
A long time.
Right.
October, I think, was when we first brought it, when you first posed it to me. And Fight Club's just man, it was a heavy movie the first time I saw it, and now we've just added so much more to it.
Right.
And the whole time, Ernie and I just got done watching the movie. I hate looking at the camera. I'm not going to look at the camera. We just got done watching the movie, and we read the book this week, and the movie that I already thought had given me as much as it could out of it, the book really amplified it. So tonight, for today's episode, we are going to be doing an episode where we're sticking on one thing the whole movie or the whole episode, and we're going to talk about Fight Club. So if you haven't seen Fight Club, I'd recommend going and reading the book or watching the movie, just getting some kind of information because we're spoiling it.
Or both. Preferably both.
Preferably both. Now that you can read the book in a day. Like you can read that whole book in a day easily, and you can watch the movie. You can do the whole thing. If you wake up at like 8, you can do the whole thing. So
yeah, it's like 30 chapters, but some of them are really short.
It was a 5-hour audiobook. And most audiobooks from the books I read, even books that are the same size, you can see we got both the book and the movie here. They can be like up to 15 hours. But when I saw that this was 5 hours, it was on Spotify. You can, if you have a Spotify account, you can just go on and listen to the audiobook for free.
Yep.
So
that's right.
Yeah. So Ernie, why don't you tell the shitters a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself to them.
Yeah, sure. So I've known Chase for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
And really it started with more like, you know, your connection to Megan, like my older sister, right? Because you guys graduated high school together.
Mm-hmm.
So you were mutual friends with, Nas, who was on a couple episodes ago, right? And we kind of just fell into things that way.
I'd say our first real interaction with each other would be the Snoopy musical, where we like actually got to speak. I wouldn't say we were friends at that point in time, but actually our friendship, well, not our friendship, our knowledge of each other actually goes much deeper for me personally. And I think we've talked about this in the past. But Ernie and another person who's been on the show, Jared, they would somehow find their way into like things with my class because Ernie was Megan's brother. And so I have a very clear memory of watching, I think it was the third Pokemon movie that we had like won a pizza party for in elementary school. And Jared and Ernie just happened to also got to join for that. And they talked the entire time. And it fucking drove me nuts as a kid. And I was like, these two motherfuckers. Little did I know that the future, they would become two of my closest friends. But at the time, I remember being like, motherfuckers.
Because my mom was homeroom mom.
Okay, is that why? I don't think I ever really understood why.
And I remember, if it's what I remember, we were sitting in like the library of Fox Elementary, right?
It was in the library.
And like Jared and I had a big bag of popcorn.
Being fucking loud.
And we're just sitting back there eating this popcorn. Right, watching this movie, yeah, because we weren't really supposed to be there, but like my mom was in charge, like, all right, you and Jared just sit in the back and whatever, right, and eat the popcorn and watch the movie. Little did I know we were being so disruptive, right, and
that might be one of my earliest memories of you.
I remember being at a homeroom party, and I think it was probably like you and like Zach Clifford.
Sounds right.
And we were talking about like gel pens.
That sounds right.
and like I remember like being like standing by somebody's desk and like wanting a certain gel pen, and you're just like, well, you can't have this one, but you can have like this other like shittier gel pen.
That sounds like me, yeah.
One that you didn't want to give away. I remember just standing there being like, well, at least I got a gel pen, and I walked away.
God, it wasn't one of those things where they forced us to like hang out with the younger grades, was it? And I've just forgot. I kind of remember this scenario, but I don't remember it being you specifically, I guess, or anyone specifically.
Yeah. Huh. I think it was just because my mom would babysit Jared.
Yeah.
Like pretty regularly. So anything that my mom was doing, that she brought me, a lot of times Jared was just there because she was watching him.
And I just remember, we grew up in a very small town. So like I would see these guys' places outside of the library for that movie. So I was well aware that like you and Jared were connected somehow. Like it was always you two together somewhere in these scenarios. The gel pen thing's funny. I can still kind of like see my gold and silver gel pens that I love so much. That's very fitting because gel pens are such a 90s thing, and we're talking about a 90s book and movie right tonight. So that's funny.
Like it was one of those like, I think like all the desks were like in a U shape, and it was one of those like, hey, it's Easter, go around, give everyone candy at their like stations.
Yes.
And I was like walking around and just kind of hovering because I was just, it wasn't my grade, I was kind of there.
Yeah.
And it was like, hey, can I have some of these gel pens? You're like, here, man, take this one.
Wow.
I'm not giving you the good ones.
I give myself, even at a young age, a lot of credit for that. I would struggle with doing that now to like a third. Like if a third grader wanted something like that from me today, I'd be like, oh, like, I'll give you an example. Just a couple months ago, I was leaving an old folks home that I go to with the bookmobile, and a lady was sitting outside and she wanted a pen. She needed a pen, and I had a pen. It was my pen that I use every day. And I had given her the pen, and a part of me was like dying for giving her like my go-to pen for work. So I found another pen in the van, and I ran out, and I was like, actually, you should take this one because it's new.
Yeah,
and that one I've been using for years, so it's probably going to run out. Like, it was a good reason, but it's really because I wanted my pen back.
Yeah. Kind of lied to her a little bit, right?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, yes and no, because that pen probably would die. That's not why I wanted it back, though. I wanted it back because it was my pen. But you're not going to say that to somebody.
No.
So knowing that a younger version of me gave you any of my gel pens, wow, it's
big of you.
Maybe that shows that I've gotten worse with age because...
Right, because you didn't come back to me and say, oh, hey, by the way, take this other gel pen instead of the one I gave you,
take
right?
This big
but now years
pen.
later, you did that.
I've forgotten this scenario entirely, but it sounds... I'm more proud of myself for this. So, yeah, we've been friends like that hang out and do stuff together now for, 15 years or so now. But as Kersey boys, our history goes deeper. Yeah.
But connecting it back to like that 90s theme you're talking about with gel pens and the movies, right? Mm-hmm. So we watched this movie. I was a senior in high school.
Yes.
It's about 12 years ago.
Yeah. Give the shitters the whole everything.
Yeah. And
this shook Ernie's life.
I think I just had come over one day. It was just kind of just for no particular reason. And I think we just kind of had it. And we just kind of put it on and watched it, right? And I didn't really know what to expect. Like most people who watch Fight Club for the first time, right? You just think it's a movie about fighting.
Yeah.
We put it on, and it was just like it changed me. Yeah. I just felt so like taken. I didn't know what I had just seen.
Yeah.
Right. And I had gone upstairs. And I guess my mom had called the house here and was like looking for me, right? And I was talking to her on the phone, and she was trying to tell me something, and I just couldn't even. I was like, Mom, I don't even hear what you're talking about. I'm just so like mind fucked from watching this movie right now. Like, I don't know what's going on. And I think you came up, and we were like joking about, you're just like Brad Pitt walk out of the woods out there.
Yeah, that sounds very appropriate. Yeah, because I remember after I had seen the movie, like I just wanted to show people it because it also did the same thing to me. And you'd get most people, they have that reaction. You show them that movie and they're like, "Whoa, I need a minute." Ern was one of those people that he let me know very quick that he was like really blown away with that. Because the whole time you're watching it, you're not really talking about it. You're just so you don't know how somebody's taking it. So once it's over and somebody turns to you and is just like, "Holy shit!"
Right?
Yeah, I remember you loving it. And I remember you taking it with you, and it's kind of what brought us, has led us here to today. Because it had such an impact, and I get off on it. I love when I show people movies I like and like I think are such like big deal movies, and they get that they also get that same catharsis from it.
Like this movie has stuck with me for years, right? I mean, it's still like my favorite movie of all time.
I was gonna say 20 minutes ago, he said my favorite movie.
The concepts behind it, the ideology behind it, right? Some of the things and the themes that I was introduced to at that time, I'm really starting to grasp onto more now, right? In the past like year or so than I ever have before. I feel like
there's like when you're 30 is very different than when you're 17.
Like there's those parts of me that were so like invested and really latched onto some of the themes of the book. Like now I'm finally like exploring more of it. It just makes me even more connected to it now than in the past.
It's definitely a book and a movie that's written for people that are like later, like 20s to 30s. Most specifically in the 90s, like it's very, and we'll get into that kind of shit at some point, but like you do get more out of it because like especially like I feel like you and I have a very similar like upbringing in our lives, and like our mental health is, you know, probably similar. So a lot of this movie's themes like of like their hard childhoods and stuff, those don't really connect so much. I'm just saying that. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
But other things kind of do.
To me, it's very focused on like the shedding of material things.
Sure.
Right. The things you own define you. Like that concept is really stuck with
so
me.
That's what I like about the movie is it has messages for so many things. So like even if you don't so much relate to one of its themes, there's maybe a couple other you kind of can.
Oh yeah.
And how it hits you differently as you grow up. So
yeah, because for a time I was like, okay, well, this is what I'm getting out of this movie, right? But is it like what I'm supposed to be or the correct thing? But in reality, like you're right, there's so many different themes in the film that many people can watch it and get different concepts out of it.
It's a movie and now a book. Well, it's always been a book, but now a book for me that like you can go back to and get just something like when the first time I watched this movie, it was like it's throwing all those things at you at once. But I think the twist was the thing that got me the most.
Right.
And that's what hit me. But then once you know the twist, some movies you know the twist and that's the movie. But like knowing the twist only makes the rest of the movie another new movie again as you're watching it.
Right.
So Fight Club's I didn't know how I wanted to attack this episode. I think we're kind of giving a brief synopsis of how it's made us feel right now, but I think as we go into this, we'll start with the differences because we've been kind of chomping at the bit the whole movie to talk about the differences between the book and the movie. And then maybe after that, we'll go into like the messaging and like certain things from the movie if you're cool with doing it that way.
Sure.
I guess here's my backstory with Fight Club. I was in the 11th grade. Me and my cousins were really into UFC one summer, so we were watching a bunch of movies about fighting. And like Fight Club, I had known about the movie, like the title, it had been around. It came out in '99, so like I had heard about it, I knew things about it. Nothing, nowhere near where I thought it was going. So I was like, yeah, let's watch another fighting movie tonight, guys. And I don't know, like we just said, it's a movie for people in their 30s, but when you watch this movie when you're like 16 or 17, even if you're not connecting on like those big life depression issues, it does something to your brain where you're just like, most people I watched it with it, like your age, my age, when we watched it, we need that like rest of the night to kind of digest what we saw.
Right.
And I don't know if people, like if you first saw this movie in your 30s, if it has that same effect. I'm already talking about things on a deep level and I don't even mean to. Yeah. And that's just what this movie does.
You may not, like if you see it at a young age, you may not have seen a film that has a twist like that, that's so like obvious and direct and makes you just rethink the whole past, like hour and a half or 2 hours that you just had seen.
It makes you kind of doubt yourself in a time in your life where you're already like doubting yourself a lot. So right when you think like you're 17, you think you're finally figuring things out and you're just like, what the fuck was that about? Yeah, I remember showing it to Caton for the first time too. He had the same reaction. Like I think we needed to like walk around on my porch and kind of like digest it. I remember you texting me after the fact that like it is just a movie that requires you to take a minute with. And we're gonna do more than that tonight. We're gonna take as long as we need to talk about as much about it as we can. There's thousands of videos and thousands of people deep diving into fun facts and stuff. What you're going to see is Ernie and I's experience with this movie and experience with then reading the book and how it's all kind of meshed in our lives up until this point. So come along for the ride and we're going to get into it. Ernie has taken notes, something that this is his first time on the podcast and he took all these notes. He's a professional. I'm a guy that's been doing this for years and I tell myself I need to take more notes and I wish I did. So Ernie, honestly, I'm going to kind of let you take the lead here since you have the notes.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess I had started taking some notes while I was reading the book. And I realized that was kind of getting a bit cumbersome because it was kind of taking away from my capacity to read the book.
Sure, yeah.
But I have a few here from the first couple of chapters. And, I guess a few things that stick out to me right off the bat is the support groups, like the detail it goes into. Like it gives some more backstory on like Bob. Like here it's saying he's got blonde hair. He's formerly a bodybuilder. I guess it covers that.
He had a family and such.
Divorced 3 times.
Sure, yeah.
2 grown kids. One that doesn't return calls. So it just gives more backstory on that. It talks about Chloe in more detail, that she's the one actually leading these guided meditations. And in the film, it doesn't really show her with that level of depth. It's just kind of like, okay, here she is.
It's like
she's
a
dying.
scene with her, really, and they mention her a lot throughout the book, like back and forth.
Yeah, I have a note here on chapter 1 that it says, "I want Tyler. Tyler wants Marla. Marla wants me." So that was kind of interesting that it mentioned that in the first chapter.
Well, I feel like the book in general kind of makes a bigger deal about like their love triangle being important to the plot. I don't think it's as important to the plot. Like there's a point near the end of the book where they start talking about how like Tyler's love for Marla or whatever is what makes him do a lot of the things he's doing. Do you remember like that kind of talk?
I actually don't.
It's not much. It's just like little. It's the narrator just trying to figure things out, but he does mention something along those lines of like Tyler's actions being more tied to Marla, which like they're not in the movie at all. She's just a piece in the puzzle, whereas like the book kind of made her out to be more important. And I think that line that you just said kind of really, that's pretty early. Like that's the first chapter. Yeah. So like the book very early lets you know that like this love triangle is part of the problem.
I think he has more disdain for Marla in the film. I don't think he dislikes her as much in the book. I mean, she's referenced more. She's talked about more. I think she just is around more as a larger presence. Like even in the book, like she's at the house with what we're calling the space monkeys. Right. Walking around.
They're hanging out.
He's like calling her mom, right, to get this fat to make this soap, right? So it's She's more of I think she's more of like a companion for him versus like in the film it's just kind of like she's like this disgusting wench. She's like she's a thorn in my side, like going back to the support groups, like she's ruining the support groups for him, and now she's just like
what she
Tyler's
starts as
girl
that in the book, but then it does start to evolve. I mean, that's something that just from watching today now, well of course just from watching today, I just read the book, but like I don't think you do get the vibe that they're at least friends in the book. Them walking around in the garden before the twist happens and he finds out he's actually Tyler. Like it's them just hanging out. There's a lot of scenes where like when Tyler's not home, they're just hanging out. Okay. Like he's mean to her at first in the books. And he's still not like really that nice to her in the book, but they're at least like hanging out and talking. Right. He just can't talk about Tyler. And when the movie doesn't show that, it does kind of make their relationship seem like not an important thing. I mean, many times as we were watching it today, Ernie was like, I just feel bad for her.
Right.
You don't feel as bad for her in the book.
No, you don't.
Because he's not as mean to her.
Right.
But he's a douchebag to her.
Like in the movie, it's almost like Tyler and the narrator are roommates, and like Marla's just the girl that your roommate's fucking, and she's just coming and going, and you're kind of like, okay, hey, like, see ya, whatever, right? But in the book, it's more just like, okay, you're just kind of more like a third roommate in a sense, right? That she's just kind of there at the house more often. She kind of has more of a sense of what's going on, and he's not like hating on her as much.
Yeah.
That's my interpretation.
No, that's exactly what I was thinking it as we were watching it. I was just like, man, like they really do have more that kind of makes you buy into like a relationship, even to the point where at the end of the book where he starts being like, I actually like you, Marla. Like I might love you. Like in the movie when he says that, you go along with it because it's been such a good movie at this point. Why call something like that out? But like, why would he like her with just the interactions they've had together,
right?
What he knows, at least.
Yeah, there's nothing up until that scene, like in the restaurant at the very end, where he like actually shows like care for her. Every other time, he's just like, this conversation's over. Like, what are you doing here? Like, get out.
They're not even talking. They're
right?
Just snapping at each other.
And that kind of connects to kind of like the next point that we were talking about early on. Like, the book really dives more into just details on things that I don't think the film has the ability to, sure. Right?
Yeah.
And it's appealing to like an audience of somebody who would want to watch a movie about fighting, right? Like why you watched it in the first place, right? I think
whatever it takes.
It jumps and emphasizes more on like the fighting aspect of Fight Club versus like the character development, the really diving into the support groups, their relationship, because the book doesn't really have like that big grandiose scene where like Tyler's in the center and he's like listing all the rules to Fight Club and things like that. It's more just like, hey, here's Fight Club, here it is, right? It's like a part of it, and now all of a sudden it leads into like Project Mayhem.
Yeah.
Versus like the movie is just like,
it's mostly Fight Club.
Here's this other stuff, right? But here we're gonna make a big deal about like the fighting element of Fight Club itself.
Yeah. I don't think I realized till we watched it today that so much of the stuff in the book that was happening, I said it a lot while we were watching it, but like it's happening during Project Mayhem stuff. But in the movie, it's happening during when they're just Fight Club. Like homework assignments start as they're still Fight Club. They're literally doing terrorist attacks on places and it's still just Fight Club. Whereas in the book, they've already established that it's Project Mayhem at that point. Right. And the thing that I like I do want to say this about the book, because ultimately I will say I prefer the movie. The book definitely gives us something to think about, but I prefer watching it as a movie. But the book has a fun way of playing with like how the movie makes you feel like you might be missing some of the pieces. The book has a different way of doing that, where like chapters will start and it's completely like, I know when they introduced Project Mayhem, it was like things were just happening about Project Mayhem and you were like, whoa, why are they doing this terrorist stuff all of a sudden? I've seen the movie, so I know why. But if you hadn't seen the movie, you're just like, out of nowhere, they're doing terrorist work. And then in that chapter, they tell you about Project Mayhem later. But like, there's a lot of times where you as a reader are just like, what the hell's going on now?
Right.
And you have to figure it out. And the movie makes you feel that way too, but in a different way. So I liked that.
I think it's more connected and linear.
Yeah.
In the movie.
Yes.
The book,
it jumps around.
Yeah, as books do, right?
Right.
It has that freedom to say, here's a standalone chapter, right? Versus like a movie that has like a standalone scene. I feel like that's harder to connect to the bigger picture than just like a short snippet chapter.
If we to go even deeper into this idea too, like in a movie, it's just a scene transitioning into a scene. So you're kind of like, you're just going along with it. But when you're reading a book, and I don't know if you're this way, but like you finish a chapter, you start another chapter. It has that feeling of like, whereas a scene going into another scene, it's all one thing. The two chapters have this like, it's something different.
Right.
So when you start a chapter and you're on a nude beach with Tyler, and the last chapter you were at, a testicular cancer meeting, you're like, how did we get here? Like, what is this about? And the book does that a lot of just being like, what's going on now?
The book, I feel like, can get away with that more than a film.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Honestly, there's this part of me that I love the movie more, but a small part of me is like, man, I wish I could have read this book knowing none of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Knowing absolutely none of it.
Yeah, because in my head, I just kept picturing
just waiting for what you
Edward
know.
Norton, Brad Pitt. I was just picturing those
of course
people in my head.
Even with my audiobook, the guy reading it, like, I just thought of Edward Norton, even though it wasn't his voice. Like, that's, how do you not?
Right.
Like, it's one of those things we can never change, but like, I don't know, if somebody out there watches this on YouTube and you read the book first, comment and tell me about how that experience is, because I'd love to have somebody on here or to talk with us in general. Just like, did you read the book first? Tell me what that was like, because I think some of the coolest parts of the book are the parts where they make you like wonder what's going on or what you missed. But I already saw the movie, so I know what I missed.
It's able to just like take just like snippets in time and like grow their relationship together. Like, here's a chapter on them like being caterers together, and gives like full detail about them just like, contaminating the food and all that backstory, right?
Right.
Like, a film doesn't have time for that.
It does. They do a real quick montage where it shows him pissing, and you know what I mean? Like,
and it's in and out.
They do more show. Yeah.
But the book, like, I think it's just like the advantage of having like a book versus like a film, because in my eyes, like a film, the pressure for a film to make money and like get good ratings and stuff and appeal to a wider audience is greater than like a book coming out. And if you have a book that comes out that's called Fight Club and it's got like a well-known two well-known actors like Brad Pitt and Edward Norton on it, right? If that book focused more on like Brad Pitt on a nude beach or just like, contaminating like fancy food, like, and there's only maybe like 45 minutes of like actual fighting, like people would be like angry. Like, what do you mean it's called Fight Club?
I still will say this though. I don't think like the movie has more fighting in it than the book, but I still don't think the movie has that much of an emphasis on the fighting either. You know what I mean? Right. Like it's there too. It's definitely more than in the book, but it's still not a lot of the movie either. I'm sure there's like YouTube videos of like the amount of actual time fighting takes place. Mm-hmm. But I see what you mean. Like they definitely, it's a movie. You gotta play it to how a movie viewing audience might like something better than what you can picture in your head. I mean, the whole ending of the movie is very different than the ending of the book, and you can see why. Like the ending of a movie, especially in 1999, needs to be, them shooting each other. They're trying to disarm the bomb. They're doing a lot of cliches that movies of that time did.
Yeah, that's a good
to
point.
Make it kind of more like a movie, like an action. Because the book just kind of, it's like, oh, he gets picked up by the guys trying to cut his nuts off, and he passes out, and then he wakes up in the building, and his nuts aren't cut off, and it's very different. It's less action, but in 1999, you need a movie that ends with action, and I thought they ended it really well. Yeah. While changing things.
I think it had to because you have big name actors in it, right? I think that's why people get upset about film adaptations of books a lot of the time, right? Because there's more of a budget, there's more pressure on it.
Yeah,
it doesn't have like the freedom and time.
I'd love to know like how much of a budget. I mean, I should have did more research because that's okay. Chuck Palahniuk is pretty famous now. I'm not sure how famous he was when Fight Club came out, but I know the book only came out a couple years before the movie. But like, was the movie like this high budget movie? You know what I mean? Like,
we don't know.
Did they know it was going to be even Brad Pitt and Edward Norton? Yeah, they're big names, but like, they weren't like as big of names in 1990. I'm assuming 7 when they started filming this. Maybe. So
yeah, how big was the book?
Yeah,
big enough to have a film adaptation.
Pretty quick, but I could also see from reading the book how somebody that makes movies, like a director, would read that book and be like, oh, I want to make this. Like, I want to make this. It's an easier book to... It's not like Harry Potter where you're like, oh, I need years of, like, getting things prepared. Something like Fight Club, you can, it's 1990. It feels very much the year it was made.
Yeah.
Type of movie.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like, I'd love to know... I'd love to know more details about that. I'll probably do some more research in that in the van, but...
Sounds like a part 2.
It does sound like a part 2. Is that? Well, that's the thing too. Like Fight Club, I don't even know how we're gonna do this. There's so much to talk about. This episode is gonna be all over the place,
right?
Because that's how the movie makes me feel.
Even we're still jumping all over, right? There's so many different themes.
Yeah,
like, you can't really talk about it in a linear way.
No.
Yeah.
And the book's not written in a linear way, so maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. I feel like I was getting to a point with all that, but let's just carry on.
Yeah, I guess I'll talk a little bit about just some of the themes that just resonate, like some of my favorite scenes, right? And some of the themes that resonate, like really big on like the things that you own you in time. That one's really, really cool. Or when he's at the gas station, what's the kid's name where he pulls him out and holds the gun to his head?
God damn it. It's 2 syllables.
Yeah.
Yeah. Raymond
yeah. Kessel.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that.
I think that scene in particular has always stuck with me.
It's a good scene.
There's so many, like you run to so many people throughout your life, or even like you reflect on it personally, right? You think, I really want to do this or that, or achieve like this goal, right? And you say, well, why don't you just go and do it, right? And it shouldn't take a Tyler Durden with a gun to the back of your head to motivate a person to do what they really want to do and pursue.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's just like the theatrical embodiment of what anybody is capable of doing, and that's just motivating themselves, right? Anybody's capable of doing anything that they want to do. It's just life gets in the way, their own methodology or fear gets in the way, right? And like that to me just shows like that's how everyone should be, right? If there's something you want to do, like you should go and pursue that. It shouldn't take Tyler Durden, holding the blank gun in the back of your head behind a gas station for you to be motivated.
Wow. Oh, Ern, you're bringing up things that are gonna make me dive too deep. But that I also have really always liked this scene, and I just think that's like everything you just said right now is just like part of the level of like the mental health of this whole movie. Like Edward Norton's character in general, like just can't figure out what he wants out of his life.
Right.
Yeah.
Connected to that theme of like, this is your life and it's ending one moment at a time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I've been like real big on this, especially lately, like with the changes in my personal life I've been going through and stuff. Like the amount of time you have alive is so short. Right. And even of that time, I mean, it's even less. Right. So like when you're a kid up until you can really only like be independent and do what you want. Like what, maybe like 18 at the earliest, 18, maybe.
Yeah. Unless you have a shitty life, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So like your livable existence is maybe like say like 20 to like 70.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what, like 50 years.
Yeah.
And like think about like the history of humanity, right? All of the things that people have accomplished in art, music, literature, all the different things that life has to offer that you can experience, right? And you only have like 50 years of your life to do those things, right? Why would you spend any moment at all like working at a job you don't like, being in a relationship that you don't like, living a life that you don't like, right? Because it's ending every single day, right? And you're just wasting time. I get real passionate about this, right?
No,
you're just wasting time like scrolling on social media or like sleeping in or just like doing just like dumb shit, right? And you're just letting your life just like pass you by, right? I'm real big on just I want to get the most out of what life has to offer. And I think to me, that's what this one of the themes of the book and the film embodies, right? Like let go of those material possessions. Like you don't need like a fucking designer couch or like fancy dishes or any of that sort of shit, right? Like what do you need to like survive? Okay. Like let go of all that material stuff and just go and do the things you're passionate about.
This is the healthy part of the message that the movie's trying to present. The movie shows you the unhealthy way of going about it, but this is a good way to take the message in, especially this particular scene, because it's one of the more like positive themed scenes, I think, in the whole movie, where everything else is kind of about destruction. That's like, let's do an awful thing, but to make somebody's life better.
It's forcing that message. It's like people, okay, like you're not going to do it for yourself. Like I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to make you experience it in the same way that he held the gun to that kid's head in the back of the parking lot, right? Yeah. Like we're going to force it by just, okay, like you're so connected to this money and this credit cards, right? Like destroy it. Back to square one, right? You'll be so much happier.
Yeah.
It's dark, no doubt, right? But it's like it's an extreme version of like forcing people to like basically be like minimalists and eliminate, unnecessary things in their lives.
Yeah. Which to some extent is an important thing to do. This movie makes you think of like moderate, like do it in moderation though. Don't start a terrorist group and try to start things over at square one. But yeah, that's a really good way of looking at that whole scene, man. That's very like I've always felt it as a positive scene, but when you bring that kind of like depth to the idea of it, I'm like, yeah, people really it shouldn't take something like that to get you to do what you should with your life, but sometimes it does.
And if people, I don't know, I guess it maybe has a bad spin, right? Like if people are like, if they like things and they like their possessions and that's truly what makes them happy, then like fine, like more power to them.
I mean, I like my things,
right? Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I would never give that up entirely.
If that's what brings you joy, then
lots of things. That's just part of them. But yeah, when you start to let them
consume you, right?
Consume you.
Like, oh man, I need to have like the newest, I don't know, like furniture, phone, material object of some kind, right? Or I place my identity in having an item of some type.
I'm almost a little like that.
I was kind of dancing around a little bit.
No, not to a point that I feel like it's unhealthy, but like I do like. I think it just pushes me to get the things I want. There is this part of me that is like, I need to get it right now. Yeah. But it's not like, I don't have a problem. Right. I don't have a problem, Ernie.
I agree that you don't. I think you like the things, but you're not like, oh, hey, like, I'm defined by this. I really want this particular thing. It's a healthy version of like, hey, I just got the new PS4. Like, I want you to come over and like check it out so we can watch, so we can look at it, right?
So we can play it.
So we can play it, right? Yeah,
We don't just stare at a PlayStation.
But I don't know. It doesn't. You don't strike me as the sort of person who is just like, oh, like bragging about it or like boasting about it or thinking like your identity is consumed with having it.
No, I just personally need it.
Right.
I don't need to show off that I have it.
Yeah.
I just have to have it. So I don't know if that's a good thing either. But
maybe this.
That being said, I
touches.
did pre-order a Switch too, so I'll have that.
Oh wow!
On day one, as we're talking about this very thing.
I'm trying to think of like a person or a situation, something relatable that is kind of like what we're getting at in Fight Club. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've met those people before where they're just like, oh, I've got like the newest car. I've got like, I only wear this type of clothing, or this or that.
I have met people like that, not as much, but I think on a smaller level, like there's kind of a different version of that now. Whereas, so this movie comes out in the 90s. The internet's not really there or big or the way it is today. There's certainly no social media. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the things they're kind of focusing on in the movie, especially with material things, think of the 90s. That was all you could do. Like where you said earlier, like those of us today, if we don't have to, if like we have a minute, we'll waste our lives looking on Instagram. There's no Instagram in the 90s. Like I think the whole reason Fight Club kind of comes about in that movie is because those particular types of people at that particular point in time in life needed that. Whereas people like us today will go on Instagram. There's so much information that you can just waste your life away reading. Not the point I'm even trying to make here, just a side tangent. But
it's a new version of the same theme.
Yeah.
Because instead of like looking through catalogs of new things to buy, it's like you're scrolling through social media and you're comparing yourself to other people at your life stage, right?
So on that level, then what like the materialistic thing in this day and age might be somebody who posts their shirtless worked out body on Instagram is that version today,
or like their boyfriend, their spouse, their kid, right? The house they just bought, right? Like, oh, I'm seeing all these other peers of mine that are purchasing houses or like having kids or this and that, right? And they're all posting it, right? So like, well, I'm jealous. Like as soon as I get one of these things, like I need to post it too, right? And you're not just doing it for you're doing it for the wrong reasons, right? Like yes, you're proud and excited about it, but the need to have to, I don't know, show it off to people. I that's kind of a gray area for me, right? Because if I'm posting something online, who are you really doing it for?
Yeah.
Is it you? Or are you doing it to...
we've been talking about Fight Club.
To gloat about, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I think it also comes with, there's a healthy level of it. There are people that do, like this day and age, if you have social media and you've grown up with it, that's just something, you show what you have. It's to what extent. I think if you post like you get a house, throw it on Facebook, you know what I mean? Those people that post their whole lives on Facebook all the time, every day, maybe many times a day.
Right.
That's the problem.
I agree. Like, I try to save. I mean, I very rarely go on it, but when I do, I save it for like big life events, mainly for like just selfish reasons. Because I think I'm fundamentally like a lazy person in not so much like things I enjoy doing, but just to just tell people things. Right. It's like the quickest, easiest way for me to have a major life announcement is just to post it.
Sure.
Then we don't have to tell people 100 times.
That's kind of the point. Right. Of it, right.
But if you're going on there and you're seeing like, oh, such and such didn't like this, or oh, this friend, like, I don't know, that kind of defeats like the purpose in my eyes. Right. You shouldn't be using it for that reason. Yeah. Right. It's getting connected to that, I don't know, that like judgmental part of you that is just unhealthy.
Yeah. When it's affecting you, when you're doing it and taking part in negative activity because of it, when you're doing negative things like that, or when you're focusing on negative things like that, that's when it might be time to take a step back from using it.
It's affecting your relationship with other people.
Right. Yeah.
I found that, right? That like mutual friends and stuff, like love them in person, right? But whenever I was on it all the time, I would have this like image of them based on what I would see them post online.
Based on their social media persona.
And it would affect my interaction with them in person. I was well, I see all the stuff you're posting online, and like, really, what is that? That's jealousy. You know, that's like being comparison. That's like a you problem, right?
Yeah.
But I think it just makes you just a less happy person.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, man, this is not where I thought this was going at all, but we're going to go there. I, like, just take think of, I'm stumbling here. You're seeing a person in a certain way, and it's making your interaction with them in real life affected. But like, think back another step of like when we first got introduced to talking to people on the internet and how we could communicate with people via not face to face, yada yada, and the persona that I think I've always had. There's been this like MySpace version of me and how I talk to my friends, and the real life version of me and how I talk to my friends. You were, especially as a 12, 13-year-old, say you're just talking to a girl, you know, Facebook, MySpace made a way to like, ooh, I can comfortably say how I feel to this girl. I might not ever talk that way in person, but on the internet I will. So you start developing, even at a young age, this internet persona and this you persona.
It's a mask. In the same way that material objects in Fight Club are a mask.
Yeah.
Right. I am like, I even took a note here, right? Like, said that he was almost complete.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Right? And he found his completion through his material things.
You were looking for a way to change your life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's what Tyler said to the narrator.
Made me or something.
And you made me, right? Yeah. So in his mind, like, the narrator knew, but then the narrator at one point says, I'm trying to find where it is. I can't find it right off the top of my head. Oh, it was right here. I was almost complete. Right. Before the pre-condo explosion.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what does that tell you? He like, when they're sitting in the bar, right, he had almost a respectable wardrobe. He had almost like things that he needed to be complete.
Mm-hmm. Right? What he saw as like, a full, what life should look like. Yeah.
And like that now in today's day and age is just projected upon what you see other people doing, or what you think like, I'm 30 or I'm 40 or I'm 25. I should be at this phase in life because I'm seeing people that I went to high school with or college with or people I work with, like, they're at this phase. So like, man, like, I'm this age, like, I'm almost complete because I almost have like a spouse. I almost have a kid. I almost have like these things, right, to get you to that point. And I think the narrator in his subconscious, like, knew that, right, that he was chasing after the wrong thing. And so he created Tyler and says, you know what, dude, like, you don't need any of these things. Fuck all that. Like, just blow it up and start square one.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a similar methodology could be just get off social media, just get off that stuff, right? Because you don't need any of it to begin with.
Blow it all up
life
and set yourself free, back to zero.
That's right.
Just you saying all that makes me think, like, imagine the narrator, this same story, this same mental health situation, but in today's day and age where he's just in the 90s. He can't see all the people he went to high school and how their lives are going. He's just seeing on television. So imagine his mental capacity for when you literally can view what people in your life are doing with their lives, you know?
Right.
Somebody out there is probably this very scenario we're talking about right now.
And like,
that's why this movie affects people. I think it's still a young movie and move in, you know, the realm of movies, but like, I think it'll be around and speak to people for generations.
Oh, no doubt. Like, the themes that what we're getting at now, the themes we're getting out of like things.
I didn't even think this was anything we were going to talk about tonight.
But here we are, right? It definitely has like overarching themes, and like, for me personally, like, post-divorce, it hits even more now, right?
Sure.
Because that theme, that line that Tyler says where he's like, it's only after you've lost everything where you're free to do anything. Like, for me, I was just a very like like linear, like by the book, like sort of guy,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you do all these things by like a certain time frame and whatever, right? And once I experienced what I experienced and went through what I went through, I kind of just realized like I need to just start doing the things that like I want to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like the script has been removed, right? I never thought my life was going to take this path,
Mm-hmm.
right? And now that you know that situation has come and has gone, right? I realize it's like I was so locked into what I thought the right direction was, or like the right pathway, right by what standard, right? Well, like what society says you have, the type of furniture, right? The material things that that society says you should have, right? So once I experienced that, I just realized like I can do whatever the hell I want. It's great. It's freeing, right? And it's
No
just
doubt.
another part of the movie that just makes it like one of my favorites of all time.
Like, no doubt, man. I actually think that like if this movie wasn't already your favorite after such an experience, I don't see why it wouldn't be, because yeah, like that to me, that's always been such a good line, just on many different levels of just like once you're, you know, you lose everything, you're free to do anything. But that's a very specific part of that equation that you didn't have the first time you watched it.
Right.
And now, like, did you already appreciate that line? And now that something so big has happened that kind of like really solidifies that message?
I think I resonated as much with that part.
Okay, yeah.
It was in the beginning, it was more like the scene at the gas station and the material possessions portion of it. Like the idea of like not being consumed by those things.
Yeah.
Right. Or just like working a job you hate, you know, those types of things. Right.
Yeah.
But now post this situation, like, yeah, the whole like the loss of everything to find yourself and then rebuild, like that's just like, man, hits me even more.
No doubt.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, there's nothing better than when a movie that you've already loved can also just hit you on a new level. Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That kind of like stops me in my tracks, because that's such like that's the point.
Right.
That's the point of art and movies and books, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To do that for you.
Another
yeah,
portion.
Keep
another
going.
portion that that stuck out to me is when they're in the car, right? Mm-hmm. So in the book, it's the mechanic.
It's different, yeah.
But in the film, it's Tyler, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so,
which I get why they did that.
I don't as much, but we should explore that next.
I get why they changed it to Tyler in the movie as opposed to, like, I didn't like it as the mechanic in the book.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, I think when you're making a movie, up front, I want to say that I think Fight Club is the best adaptation that I've ever seen of a book that I've read and a movie that I've seen. You know, you have, like, when you make a book a movie, you have to make changes. So changes are there, but like every change, I get it, especially after reading the book. This is one of those. There's a lot of characters throughout the book that like say the lines that Tyler Durden says in the movie, and you're glad that when you're watching the movie that it's actually Tyler saying them and sometimes doing them, because you're just more connected with him as a character. I can believe Tyler Durden's gonna do that scene with the car more than a mechanic that I met in the same chapter who just happens to be so brainwashed by Tyler. Like, the movie does a good job of showing me the brainwashedness without needing those kind of like scenes in the movie. Whereas I think the book did need to show us how brainwashed people were differently than a movie can. So it's fine in the book. But as I was, reading that portion of the book, I was hearing Brad Pitt saying those lines.
Right.
It just, and the book's telling you people are literally saying his words. So if they're literally saying his words, I get why for a movie scene, it's a big scene in the movie. It's the part where Brad Pitt, it doesn't happen in the book. You know it in the book, but it doesn't happen where Tyler says, "Why do you think I blew up your apartment?"
Right.
He doesn't tell him that. You as the reader are like, just like in the movie, figuring out like, oh, this guy knows about dynamite and his apartment blew up. I wonder if he's like, the movie's almost making you feel like the twist is going to be him saying he blew up the apartment, not we're the same guy.
Right.
So I get it. I get why they made that change.
I think it's more impactful coming from Tyler.
It sure is.
Right.
Yeah.
Versus like a no-name mechanic.
Right. And like, as a book, totally makes sense. But as somebody that was making a movie, I get why he read those chapters and I'm like, all right, this will work better this way. Whether they had Brad Pitt casted at the time or not, they were like, this needs to be the same character. Tyler Durden literally needs to say these lines that the book has somebody else saying all the time, because it's better as a viewing audience for you to see him say that.
Right, coming from the same voice. And the book expands more on like the members of Project Mayhem. It introduces Project Mayhem earlier, right? And its members are more established. Like, yes, it's a like kind of a no-name character in essence, but the Space Monkeys theme of what the mechanic is talked about more often,
heavily,
and more established.
The term Space Monkey comes up
once in the film.
Yeah, maybe once or twice. In the book, it's to the point where it drove me mad.
Right.
It made me get why they didn't use it as much in the movie.
I would just say like in the way that we gotta switch back.
Yeah, keep talking.
In the way that Tyler is established and he says those lines in the movie, this concept of Space Monkeys is established to deliver those lines in the book. It doesn't necessarily have to be an established character because the I guess the group that's coming from is more established.
Yeah. And it's weird because now that I read the book and I see them in the movie, I feel like the book did give me, I had more of that connection with them that I never thought about when I watched the movie before. But because I read the book now, yes, the movie doesn't do that enough. But the book makes me feel like it did. You know what I mean? Like, you see the characters, you get why they're not getting the same type of, attention that a book needs to give you. That kind of attention.
Their screen time alludes to it, but it doesn't have the time to expand on it.
Sure.
But if you read the book, like, you get it.
You can appreciate it a little more. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. That's why I think it's one of the most perfect adaptations of a book to movie. Maybe is. And if anybody out there knows other books that have like this kind of level of good adaptation, please tell me, because I'd love to like read and watch both again, because it's just so, it sprinkles in lines that the book says into just like little scenes or little moments or little things that maybe other characters might say. And you're just like, wow, I get this. I get this. Yeah. There's something reading the book before watching the movie can do specifically for a person, but I also feel like there's something watching the movie and then reading the book can do for a person, and you can't always say that.
Right.
Yeah. Especially like that portion in particular was a very like standout part to me, because it was so the same as the movie, but so different at the same time. Right. There's a birthday cake involved. He's talking about it's your birthday because they're going to crash and be reborn as members of Project Mayhem, which you're well aware of at this point in the book. It's a different experience. If you like the movie, read the book. That's all I have to say.
In the movie, that scene, just watching it today, like the narrator, he almost is like getting upset or wants to have like some ownership to Fight Club. Like, he's getting mad at Tyler to say like, well, this thing's growing so big and like we started it together, right? And he's like almost getting like upset that he's not maybe as involved or maybe isn't having like credit for the success that it's gotten, right? And that, and then Tyler gets like really upset with him, right? Like, to me, that stuck out as like, okay, he's going back to that, like, he wants credit, he wants status, he wants like material items to make him whole, right? He wants notoriety for having Fight Club, right?
The thing you own owns you, because you want people to. And you know what the thing is too? Hissing it. People are already at this point in the movie calling Edward Norton Sir,
right?
You know what I mean? They are literally treating him as Tyler Durden, because to them he is, and he doesn't even notice it because he wants that. Well, because he's crazy, but he wants that attention as well.
That status,
yeah.
Like, that stuck out to me because that's why I think Tyler went so extreme with it. It's just like, no, like, you're not getting it, right? You're still not getting it. And then like post car crash, he's just like, okay, you don't need me anymore, because like now you get it, right? You had this, we call it like near life experience, right? To show that like, okay, like having this like status or notoriety that you wanted of being like a co-founder of Fight Club, like, you're missing the whole point, right? This is why we blew up your condo in the first place,
right? Which the movie literally says, and the book doesn't. You know what I mean? That's interesting. That very point you just made is something the movie in this exact scene we're talking about does a really good job of telling you. In the book, it doesn't straight up tell you, but you know, as a reader, you're like, especially after he blows up his boss's office, you're like, oh yeah, he blew up. Like at this, like the narrator just accepts in the book, Tyler blew up my house.
Yeah, right.
Nobody literally tells him. He's just like, that's what happened. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And that is just one minor yet major change that the book and the movie have. That's the thing. I don't know if we were recording when I said this, but when I said that there were portions of the movie or portions of the book that were different than the movie, so I gave them a little more attention to, that was a portion that was so similar to the movie yet different that I also was like, I'm paying extra careful attention to this because I want to make sure I'm getting all of it. Because it's something I thought I knew, but it was different. Because Brad,
which part's that?
Well, no, the one we're talking with Tyler Durden instead of the mechanic driving the car. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
That's like a wild scene. Like to me, it's like just like a miniature version of the condo explosion.
Yeah.
Right. Like he's creeping back into his old ways, and then it's like, all right, you're still not getting it. Like we're gonna run headlong into traffic, right? Mm-hmm. Then he almost dies, and then it's like the sketchy scene that we had to like go back to and watch again.
Yeah. We watched a scene twice today. A movie that I think we have both seen this movie several times in our lives, and have just kind of rolled with this scene. But today we were finally like, throw that back, and it's because it's a scene where like. It's right after the crash. The narrator, Edward Norton, is just in his bed, and Tyler's like talking. It feels like a fever dream of a scene.
Right.
And you don't really hear what he's saying.
It's very subtle.
It's very like hard to hear. So I think through my whole life, and it's more like, it sounds just like, cultic mumbo jumbo. So you just are like, yeah, he's just saying some more. The movie's been preachy the whole time, so you're just like, more preachy shit, whatever. But because we read the book, and in the book they talk multiple times about setting the world back to one, hunting elk in like Times Square,
Rockefeller Center,
crawling the vines, and that's what he's saying in the scene. But I never noticed it until today. Right. And I don't know if I would have fully noticed it. Like I noticed it a little, and then you went and rewound it. And had you not done that, I don't know if I would have got all of it.
And it goes back to like post crash, right? It all connects back to that, like you're not getting it near life experience, right? Where you almost died in this car crash. Okay, now we're gonna just sprinkle in like this is what we're going for, right? Like ground zero, square one, right? And you're not reading Rockefeller Center or anything like that, but you're hearing it in this like little brief. It's really like a switch. It's really a switch in the film because then it's like, okay, now all of a sudden like the plan is set in motion, right? And like Tyler is like removed from it.
Yes.
And now it's just as it is, right, moving forward.
Whether he's there or not, nothing's going to stop it. Right. And in both the book and the movie, nothing does.
Yeah.
So that's oh, fuck. Yeah, I could. It's almost like the whole movie becomes it's like filmed differently after Edward Norton realizes like the car crash situation and Tyler's gone, right? It's almost filmed different.
Yeah, because before it's always like Tyler's kind of leading it, but after that scene, it's leading itself. And you're with
the leader
narrator.
Doesn't even know he is the leader,
right? And
he's
you're
depressed.
just following Edward Norton around, and you're just trying to pick up the pieces and figure it out, and you're just watching all of it unravel in front of you.
Whereas I do want to get to this. I felt like in the book that Edward Norton's character was way more aware of Project Mayhem. He was way more involved. He was way more about it. You know what I mean? Where in the movie when the twist happens and he's like, Tyler, you're doing all this awful stuff. I need to stop this. In the book, he's just more fucked up about the fact that him and Tyler are the same guy. But like he's the one going on the homework assignments. He's the one in the scene with the gun, not Tyler Durden, of the kid telling him to work. Like, it's very interesting that they chose to do it that way, because whenever he's acting more like Tyler in the book, you are just with the narrator. He's about Fight Club. He's about Project Mayhem. But in the movie, it's Tyler Durden doing those things and our narrator being like, what's going on? What is Project Mayhem? Why don't I know any of this? He kind of has the notoriety in the book, but in the movie, he doesn't.
Yeah, you're definitely kept more in the dark in the movie.
Yeah.
The book, you feel like you understand
for it.
more.
It's better for it. Right. And that's one of those things that I'm saying. It's the way that the book is written that keeps you in the dark more than like what's specifically happening.
Right.
The way, like, for instance, at the end of the book, it's like this whole, like, the narrator is like, Marla, Tyler's a figment of my imagination. I need you to watch me. I need you to keep an eye on me. I need you to keep me awake so that he doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And then the chapter ends of them, like, doing this, like, hanging out, being this. And then you're immediately put on to another chapter where he is no longer with Marla. She's not with him. He's on a bus and he's getting his nuts chopped off.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what happened to Marla in the midst of this? Like, I felt like, much like the character, I was missing something as I was reading it. I was like, why isn't Marla with him right now? She just was with him. And that's what the book does. It keeps you, like, because then it fills you in later. Like, well, what happened? Oh, he beat her or some shit. Like, and then she followed him and watched him kill a guy at a murder mystery thing. Like, very different.
There's more of an awareness of Tyler in the book earlier. Because the narrator even mentions, he's just like, I don't want to sleep, because he knows that when he's asleep, Tyler is doing what Tyler does.
Well, in the movie, it makes it seem like when he's asleep, he's getting rest. Whereas in the book, he's like, even though I sleep, I am still exhausted. I'm still depressed. I'm still fucked up. No wonder your body's not actually sleeping.
I think, though, in the film, like, there's no talk of, like, him being, like, afraid. Like, it talks about the narcolepsy and, like, in the beginning, but it doesn't really revisit that theme a whole lot, right?
I think there's, like, little small mentions of it here and there.
In the book, it seems like it's more like whenever he realizes that all these things are happening, like, he has more of an understanding of, okay, it's me doing it, and this is how I need to prevent myself from doing these things. Right? I can't sleep, because if I do, then all these things are going to happen. Right. And that's why he's talking to Marla, saying, like, hey, keep me awake at all times.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think that piece is, like, the book focuses more on just, like, the things that, like, Tyler is doing with the narrator. It doesn't focus on, like, the narrator's awareness of that.
There's a line that is in both the book and the movie during all of that. And the book goes into it more detail, kind of everything talking about. The movie just throws one line. It's quick, but it kind of summarizes what that whole description is of just like, have I been sleeping longer or staying awake less or something like that.
Right. I think
it's a quick line in the movie, but it's like a whole paragraph with that line in the book. And I don't know, it had more weight for me watching it today.
Yeah.
The book's knowledge.
Am I sleeping less or sleeping more?
Right.
Implying that
is Tyler me?
More is happening without him knowing.
Am I the figment of the imagination?
Yeah.
Don't want to go there, but I mean, it could also be that. That's a whole other layer to this movie that we could go into, that Tyler's the real one. What are you looking for there?
I thought I wrote something about sleep, but I'm not seeing it anywhere on here about how like has he been sleeping more, but I don't think I wrote anything on there about that. So.
But like that scene in particular, that how they used it in the movie is just a quick line right after you find out they're the same guy, as opposed to how they did it in the book. Oh, man, I'll be honest. When I read the book, I was like, yeah, it was good, but I'm unimpressed. The more I think about the book, the more I'm like, actually glad I read.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. One thought I had, like, I think you could argue that, yes, they're like a terrorist organization, right? But are they really doing anything that is, in their eyes, wrong? Like, they're not necessarily killing people, right? Granted, like, Robert Paulson died, right? But like he says when he's in the back of the van, right? Like, gotta crack a few eggs, right?
Right.
Like,
Sacrifices are necessary.
I can see like the methodology and ideology behind like what they're doing, right? Because they're in their eyes, they're really like setting people free. They're not necessarily like killing or hurting anybody, right?
Yeah.
I can buy into that. I guess maybe like the devil's advocate argument is Project Mayhem isn't doing anything wrong.
Sure. No, yeah, and all I want to say to that is I felt like the book showed more, like, it felt like more people were dying because of what they were doing. It felt more...
Right.
Like, there were bodies. There's a part where he's like, yeah, they kill his boss. Bob's
right?
dead. There's a part where he's walking in the garden with Marla and he's hiding, like, human bodies. Like, they bring money to the house for their own burial or, like, disposal when they come to live in the house. You don't know that watching the movie.
Right.
So it does seem like in the movie, Bob's the only one who actually dies from the whole thing. But in the book, it's like, Bob is a big part of, like, what dying means to them. But, like, I think before even Bob dies, they're hiding teeth in a garden of a dead body so Marla doesn't see it.
Yeah, like,
so people do die. It's a little more terroristic. It's more scary in the book, I think.
Yeah, because like the things that they're doing, like going in depth about like planting explosives into like lighting fixtures or computer monitors, like I think the ideology is the same, right? They both the objective in both the film and the book are like eliminate people from like the chains that bind them, right? Which is like jobs, material possessions, etc. Right? The movie does it mainly by just destroying credit card companies, but the book focuses, I think the point we're getting at is like more if people are connected to that, like your boss or whatever, right? Like it's not above like just killing those
just
people,
destroying it. Yeah,
right?
Like
right. The movie's a little more tame in that sense.
Yeah, you don't even know the boss is. You think he might have just got fired in the movie, but like he is dead in the book from getting blown up. Like
he goes to jail.
Something.
I guess it alludes to that a little bit because when he goes into the office and he like beats himself up.
Yeah.
Right. Like he's taking out the boss as a factor.
They kind of mixed things in that scene. Yeah.
But it's in a more like PG-13 type of way.
Or you think in the book it's more PG-13?
I'm thinking the movie's more PG-13.
You think the movie's more PG-13?
Because the book they kill him.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, I guess you're right. Even though the movie is R, you'd think they would kill him, but well, they didn't need to. They got the same message across, and they got the same thing out of that. Like I said, they mixed two different things. Like in the book, the narrator beats himself up from a boss at a different job, like at the waiter job, gets money from that. Yeah. But I could see why they were like, let's just make it his boss at the job that we know in the movie that he has. Right. So we don't have to explain why he has all these jobs. So I thought that was interesting that they changed that up. So whereas the boss doesn't get fired in the movie, like he doesn't get in trouble for beating up one of his coworker or his, employees, he fucking dies. And you also know in the book he has a family, his kids. Right. Yeah.
Well, like in the movie, I think it implies that the boss gets like fired.
Sure.
Because as Tyler's taking his stuff out, he's saying he gets like all these like perks because it appears that his boss.
Beat. Right. Yeah. That boss is out of there. It's a whole thing.
It's the same. His
message. Life is ruined whether he's dead or not.
It's just framed differently. Like it's eliminating the things that bind you, just in a different way. Wow. The book is more raw with it though. It's like we're just gonna like ice these people and kill them, right? Like,
just and that's like I was saying. It's a scene of the narrator with Marla being like, "Keep me up all night," and then the next chapter is, "Well, I get to work and my boss's office is blown up and he's dead," and you're like, what happened? Marla failed at her job. Why? Yeah. No doubt. And that's what was fun. Like the end of the book is so different than the end of the movie. It was the first time, other than those, extra added meat to scenes, that I really felt like I was experiencing something new from a story I already know. So I was like, oh, I'm curious how this is gonna go. Like they're on a bus. The bus driver knows him. The people on the bus are gonna cut his nuts off. All the things that happens to the narrator in the police scene or in the jail scene. Happen on that bus. Right. It's interesting. I can see why they changed it for the movie, but it was new to me again, and I was like, oh, the cops are on the bus. What's gonna happen? Oh, the cops are part of it. They get the same message across, but they make it a little more believable to see.
Same scenes, but like in a different lens. Yeah, which is interesting. Yeah, like when we were just watching it now, like when he's in the back of the bus, like de-arming the nitroglycerin, and he's going back and forth, and the narrator's just saying, we're a terrorist organization. And it really resonated with me when Tyler was just making the point, like, we're really not. Like, all the buildings are empty.
Right.
Like, we're not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, well, what about Bob? It's like, okay, fine. Like, I get Bob, but, like, big picture, like, what are we really doing, right? We're setting people free.
Right.
Like, the argument with the book is more like, no, like, they're killing people, right? They're trying to achieve the same goal, but just with more criminal.
Book or movie,
methods.
like, mentality or not, it is funny because, like, whether they believe they're terrorists or not, like, that's what a terrorist thinks. Like, they don't think they're terrorists. So
They're
that's
still
like,
blowing up buildings.
whether you're killing anybody or not, like, you're setting the national debt to zero so things can go back to hunting elk because you think that's the way life should be. Yeah, you're a terrorist.
It's
but it's cool
yeah.
because he doesn't, like, that's what a terrorist thinks. They think they're not the terrorist. From Anakin's point of view, the Jedi are evil.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I guess it's an ideology that I can understand and connect with more, though. Not to that extreme sense,
Sure.
obviously, right?
yeah,
Like,
everything in moderation.
right.
Yeah.
But like other terrorist views, like, whatever it might be, right? Like self-sacrifice or like 9/11 type of stuff. Like it's hard to like you don't buy into those things, right? But like where it starts, the material possessions, like I buy into that and taken to an extreme, like I'm like, yeah, I get it. Sure. Right? Like but
It
no,
could lead you to that point.
right. So you still shouldn't be blowing up buildings though, right? And hunter-gatherer is not
No, we
end goal.
evolved past that for a reason. But like the movie and the book, both written in a time where I think that generation of men in particular, they say a lot of lines in both the book and the movie. They needed something more out of their lives.
Right.
And I think I don't want to like give our generation credit, but I do think like where the internet has given us a lot of problems, it also kind of helped that feeling of it. It gave people more of an outlet to like let themselves do something with what they wanted to be. Even this podcast is just
Right.
me, sending it out and hoping for as many people to see it as can be.
Right.
It's not a fuck ton at this point. It's enough that I'm like, nice. Like,
Right.
I couldn't do that in the 90s. There was no way of doing that. So these men, I mean, the whole idea of Fight Club in the book and the movie is these men need something more than therapy to like make them deal with their issues. Well, they need therapy, but they choose to go to Fight Club instead, and it leads them into becoming a cult.
Yeah, like what makes outside of the cult portion of it, like it hits on what makes you feel like alive, what makes you feel like in control of your life, right?
Even though it's completely unhealthy. If anything, I don't know if Fight Club directly says this, but it's a big sign to like, if you have mental health issues, seek professional help because, if you don't, it could lead to... Tyler Durden is an extreme, but all these men at Fight Club that join Project Mayhem are mental health cases that that chose an unhealthy outlet. You know what I mean? That is Fight Club.
I'd argue like less on like I focus more on like the beginning half of the movie, right? Like dragging people out of their own heads, out of their own lives, out of their own monotony, and like giving them an outlet. Doesn't necessarily have to be like fighting stuff. It can be like doing like martial arts or like exercising or doing like I think it's that. Not necessarily underground, fight clubs, but just that concept
Ernie.
of like get out of your own head and like do something that makes you feel alive.
I am so happy for you and proud for you that you take like you really do focus in on just the positive messages that this movie gives, and that alone really shows me that because where I'm sitting there being like they chose Fight Club, totally unhealthy, bad, and you're like yeah, but this like.
Yeah, the more we talk, the more I'm
good.
like...
It's good to have the positive look.
We definitely resonate with different portions of it.
Sure. Oh, yeah. I mean...
I really resonate with, like, get out of the corporate grind, right? Like, especially working, like, a corporate job now, right? Like, I definitely see, like, how it can be life-consuming, right? And just that, like, that heat of, like, go do something that makes you, like, feel alive, or not get so like anxious or so like uptight or care about like trivial things like, oh, did you meet the deadline for this report or that report, right? Like if you're doing something that you're like passionate about, like whether it's Fight Club or something that makes you feel like alive, these little things don't bother you as much, right? Like a passing comment that somebody makes, like somebody being like judgmental towards you or whatever. It's like, it's just words, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you're fulfilled in other areas of your life. And I think that is like what the appeal of Fight Club is to a lot of these men who are just like fuck yeah, like I want to fight next.
This is
like,
their therapy. Yeah.
Right.
This is how they, yep. No, absolutely. I completely agree with that point.
Yeah.
And then just follow through with like, but too much moderation.
Yeah,
keep it at that, because there is a level where it is too much. Where even if it's that, even if it's helping, it could be problematic. But that's the good way to look at it, is like, get something that makes you feel good about your life.
Yeah, because it turns into cult stuff, right? I mean, look at like
Right.
Hitler, right? Like, well, it's like, right? Like,
exactly.
Rallying people, like taking them out of like a...
That's what this book and movie are.
Post-World War I, right? Germany was in like a really rough place, and like he rallied everybody, made them feel alive, made them feel like, I'm going to, bring back like the German people to its national pride, right? And turns into, a cult and genocide,
I mean,
right?
look at those characters.
Yeah.
Whether you're reading the book or watching the movie, the people that follow him, they seem insane. They look like they look like nutcases.
But to your point, like, it's taken too far.
It's
right?
it's a great analogy for Hitler. You could say, like, this movie is a metaphor. Tyler is Hitler.
Right.
The German people are, that's what the
Project
German
Mayhem.
people
Yeah.
were like following Hitler. That's what they looked like to the rest of the world. People that were just like, yeah, Bob's dead. Well, he wasn't Bob, but now that he's dead, he's Bob. And people are chanting
Right.
that. And you're like,
oh yeah,
what the fuck is wrong with these people?
like you don't have a name. You're just like an extension of the Reich, right? Or instead of blowing up credit card buildings, it's like sending Jews to Auschwitz, right? Type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so yeah, there's definitely like a dangerous element to it, which I think you kind of resonate more with, like the dangerous side of the negative sides of Fight Club.
The dangerous in I think working in the mental health field for as long as I did, and like, having my own stuff, working through my own way of doing it, that portion and those messages in this movie really relate to me. The sad thing is all of those only relate because they're based around more negative, like the negative sides of bad mental health.
Yeah.
Like what being in a bad place can do to a person, right?
Makes them vulnerable.
And there's a lot of that in this movie. Like, the movie doesn't show the positive side of like bad mental health. It just focuses in on like the bad parts. And I understand that. I've worked with it. I've learned about it. I felt it. I can see it.
It takes like broken people, in this case broken men, gives them something to rally behind, and then uses them as tools to push that objective.
It's taking people's mental health, real situations, and abusing it.
Right.
But like, so people do that, and that's the movie makes it tasteful and you know what I mean, cathartic.
Take like so just fighting in general, right? I mean, say it's in like done in like a legal safe way, like Jared does jujitsu,
sure,
right? Or like martial arts, or like I got like really into like running and exercise, right? Like I think in the healthy lens of things, like there's only so much, I don't know, like therapy, meditation, or whatever things that you can do to try to make yourself feel better. I think, speaking from my personal experience, like exercise, some sort of like physical outlet, like is like the most like therapeutic thing, right? And I think like to me, Fight Club maybe touches on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. We're in a place where like because Tyler doesn't need the support groups anymore, right?
No.
After he does,
the support groups aren't therapy though.
He kind of using them.
He uses
therapy,
well, that's the thing. Everybody, they're using things instead of getting therapy.
Yeah.
But I see what you mean. So I guess if I were to like cover the whole thing, like the therapy would be, going to a professional, seeing a doctor for a terminal illness,
right.
Whereas the Fight Club is like, okay, you have broken bones. This is the cast to kind of help that heal. Like you need the therapist, you need the doctor to address this thing that's closer to like a terminal illness, and then the cast, I guess, Fight Club, exercising, healthy things.
Yeah.
And you need both. You need to be able to go to therapy, go to a doctor, exercise, wear a cast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? That sounded like a lot of analogies, and I'm really sorry, but
no, that's fine.
Did that make sense to you?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, like I I know, to me, it's like you're out of your own head because you have like a real problem now, right? Like you've got like a broken, it's kind of like when I went to Africa, right? It's like the problems that you have like in your day-to-day life, like now you're seeing kids that have like no food, no parents, no schooling.
Braden has said things like that.
It makes you like, it just humbles you, right? It's just like, what do I even have to, not that your problems aren't like real and valid, but it just makes you think about like, what are like, are the things that you're really concerned about, are they really that concerning to begin with, right?
Yeah.
I think it gives you like a sense of perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. Braden has said the same thing to me. I mean, God, I hate that my brain goes immediately to jokes, but it's like it really gives a lot of weight to the phrase, when you're not eating your food and your mom's like, eat your food, there's starving kids in Africa. Because they're literally all like, you and Braden have both been there. You've literally seen this, the way people live.
In the same sense that like you're trying to use like these support groups to just see like, oh, these are the problems that like other people are facing, right? But until you have like a broken bone or like a real problem of your own, you're just like, oh gee, like, wow, okay, like this is what a real issue is, or this is what I'm like capable of, right? I feel like so much more alive now. I don't have to I'm not so concerned with like, what I look like or these like smaller trivial things.
Yeah.
Like I know when I was in the thick of it, it didn't matter what I did, right? If I went up and I like ran, because there's like a treadmill in my work or whatever, if I ran, I always felt better afterward. Like no matter what, like doing that, like forcing yourself to like do something that's like difficult, hard, scary, that's like a physical thing, right? No matter how like bad I felt, I was tempted, like I'm just gonna go home, I'm just gonna like go eat food, or I'm gonna go sleep, or I'm gonna go like watch something, right? Like the getting out of your comfort zone, forcing yourself to like do something physical and like run, I always felt better afterward, right? And I think rallying men to do Fight Club is more like running on a treadmill versus like going to these support groups is just like, doing other methods that aren't as healthy or as productive. That's kind of the connection I make in my head, right? Like,
yeah, no, I think you and I are very similar in that way, where I am also a person that like when I work out, when I do things, if I am feeling like, it makes me feel better. I don't think everybody is like that. I don't think everybody's as lucky, I guess, as us to have that, but like I agree. Like I know when I do shit, I do feel a lot better.
Right.
Yeah.
And like Fight Club is like giving men that like physical outlet, right? Making them feel macho, right? And it's just like in a way that like just like comparing yourself to people who are dying of like a cancer at a support group, like that'll get you maybe there, but it doesn't have that same jolt or that same level that, a Fight Club or exercise maybe would have.
Yeah. And in the positive spin of it all, like everybody's fix, everybody has something different that does it for them. And to these people, it's Fight Club.
Right.
Yeah.
But then it just gets taken a step too far, right? It's like, okay, let's just go like extreme, right? Like let's force everybody to be free, and let's go back to like grassroots basics, right?
Right.
I resonate more with like the first half, right?
Which is absolutely the healthy way to look at it. Which is, I bet when this movie came out, it inspired hopefully more people like you that took the good message, but this world. I'm sure there were lots of people, if I did any research, that like in 1999 was like, yeah, this movie gave me a lot of ideas to blow shit up and fucking like this, it affects two different people in two different ways. And no, everything you get out of it is like, I feel like the best positive, like the positive parts of it.
Yeah.
Because it's got a lot of like things that can show people. I mean, that's just, oh fuck, man. This is the deepest episode I've ever made, I think.
Oh wow.
But like, I'm just like getting into like this kind of stuff, but
it's like half one is more on like the positive spin, breaking you out of yourself, removing yourself from material possessions. The second half is more the negative spin. It's just like, okay, we're there, but now like we're like gonna liberate everybody and force it, and we're gonna do so by destroying things and killing people, and it's taken a step too far in that sense, right? The cult to Hitler comparisons, right? Especially more so in the book, like since we kind of already established the book is not, it'll do that by any means necessary, like killing CEOs, killing bosses, like that type of thing, right? The movie doesn't touch on that as much versus alludes to it, but yeah, like I could see, and I think the reason I kind of gloss over the second half more is because like I resonate with the ideology, you know, like that. Like, I relate to that. Like I'm trying to go like minimalist more on things.
So
right?
you
like,
you're a bigger fan of the first half of the movie than you'd say the second half. Very cool, man.
I don't really care about like, you know, where I'm living, what I'm doing. Like I'm passionate about like pursuing things I enjoy doing, like doing stuff in Africa, like playing guitar, like reading, like things that are like enjoyable to me, right? I don't care about having like nice fancy like material possessions or those types of things, right? And to me, like the extreme version of the second half of the book is like, okay, I get it, right? But like maybe we could go about it in a way that's not so extreme, right? We're not like forcing people's hands to have this experience, that we can enlighten them in a different way. But that to me is like the whole takeaway of the film, right? And the fact that like the narrator, like he was unhappy with his life, and like his subconscious like created Tyler to like force him to get out of his own head and realize like what really is gonna like fulfill him, which is not like all the material possessions that he thought it was. In the same sense, like for me, it feels like going through like a divorce, right? That experience like kind of was like, so I see like Edward Norton and Edward Norton and Brad Pitt on a poster. I just think like Brad Pitt, right? Brad Pitt is what like I think is what would make people happy, right? If they can just get out of their own heads and realize that they don't need things to be fulfilled in their lives, right? And the Edward Norton side of it is just the, you know, doing what's expected of you, doing what's easy, doing what is the typical trajectory of people, right? And what is that jarring moment? Like I had my experience with it, right? And you know, Brad Pitt is like the embodiment of whatever the catalyst was for the narrator, or in this case, you know, Chuck, who wrote this book, right? I'd be curious to see like what his methodology of it was.
Yeah, I bet if we like looked on YouTube, there's probably like things of him talking about it. We probably could learn quite a bit of like, what inspired,
like what is a catalytic event in people's lives that can make their Tyler Durden or their Brad Pitt come out, right? So they can see things like, wow, like I really don't need these things to be fulfilled.
But also like, this is great. We have a really good like, we see things the same way, but we're like a Venn diagram, Ernie. I feel like there are things that like we're both like we look at and that we don't, but there's like a middle area where we do. And I hope that picked up on my mic at all, because I then look at it as like, with all of that applied, I wish I could see a book or a sequel that talks about more of Edward Norton, the narrator's life that led to him become like, because like I see the side of like I truly believe that there are mental health scenarios of just level of like where depression and all that stuff just gets you, like they're talking about in the beginning of the movie, to the point where your brain can, it's extreme in this movie, but like can literally make you become another person. You know what I mean? I've seen kids that have like split personality. You know what I mean? I've dealt with that personally.
Right. Yeah. And I have not.
So like knowing that there are people out there, you know, and even like the times, this is an interesting topic because I feel like another thing I think you and I are a little similar in is like, we have both experienced things that have made us depressed, but I wouldn't say that we have depression or depressed people. Would you agree?
Yeah, sure.
But even in the midst of being really just depressed, I could see like my brain like concocting thoughts that like I had no reason of having. So I could, you know, I wonder about people that are just like seriously clinically have problems to a point that it creates another human.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I see that side of it as well mixed in. including in the beginning of the movie, you're watching him not sleeping. You're watching him talk about all these material things, and you're seeing literally what it's doing to his brain.
But it was like the split personality was like it's his brain like almost trying to save itself.
Yeah.
Like get out of your own head. Like this is what it's gonna take. Like you're so depressed. Like it's gonna take, because even like what he says in the hotel, what Brad Pitt says in the hotel, like I'm cool the way that you're not. I do all the things. I'm everything that you wish you could be. Right. I am those things. Right.
And
blows up
he literally is, because it's him.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, but that's once again, that's like the really positive look at it, instead of being like, yeah, he might be able to do these things, but he's also a terrorist.
Right.
Like
yeah.
that side of him is also a monster, which is fine. I mean, it's there. You agree that it's there, but that's not the part that's not the thing you're taking out of it.
I look at it as like his brain
but it's
created
there.
Tyler to save him from himself.
Damn.
Right. And break himself free. Right. And I'd be curious to see what
Ernie, I think that's very interesting.
What was his I was pronouncing, wasn't it how you pronounce his last name?
I think it's Chuck Palahniuk.
Palahniuk? Okay. Like I'd be curious to see like what motivated Chuck Palahniuk to write Fight Club. Like did he have like a catalytic event? Like what parallels does he share with like the narrator? Did he go through a similar experience?
You'd feel like he'd have to. Like, you know what I mean? Or at least like, I don't know. I feel like I could write similar experiences just based around kids that I've worked with, talked to, the things they've told me. Like I have an understanding, and the classes I took while I worked there to like learn about this kind of stuff. But I don't know. I don't think I could write one quite like that. So it's interesting. Like maybe he just worked with people and he understands people, or he had a fucked up life. It's probably that. Most surprisingly, Aaron, I don't know if you've heard, but most people really do
struggle.
Yeah, like have like. I feel like I'm saying this like I'm teaching it to you. I just mean it's ridiculous in the grand scheme of things. Like I know you know, but
like the listening piece also sticks out to me, right? Like how often do you talk to somebody and you really feel like you have their full attention? Like if you have big news,
only when I do this
of some kind, right? Or like if you have big news of something, you can just tell the difference, right? If you're just trying to tell somebody something, you can always gauge how good of a listener are they actually, right? Versus like good example, like we recently had like a CEO visit at the plant.
Okay.
Right. But like I was at like a stand-up meeting like the following morning, and like people asked me like, oh, how's the visit? And like everyone was really interested. Like they were hanging on like every word I was saying.
Oh fuck.
Right.
Wow.
Because like it was a big deal. Like everyone knew the CEO was coming, right? And like I really had I had their like full attention, right? Versus like every Friday, you know, I give like a safety message to that same group of people, and you can tell like they're not,
they don't give a
they're
shit.
listening, right? But they're not like they're listening, right? This one, right? And to his point, like people really listen to you when they feel like you're dying.
Yeah.
Right. When they feel like that's the last thing you're going to say to them. Right. That resonated with me because I feel like many people are very poor listeners.
Okay.
And to me, that's like, you know, Chuck maybe had like an experience like that.
Yeah, you would kind of, you would almost hope that, like, for his sake, I hope that's all it is. I hope that people just didn't listen to him when he spoke, because you don't want it to be, like, more of, like, actually, my dad left me when I was 6 and that kind of shit. But, like, neither is good. You know, you want to feel heard if you're talking to somebody.
Right.
Like, it's the whole point of communication.
And it takes, like, if people think you're dying, oh, now they're very interested in what you're saying, right? That part like was interesting to me.
Yeah. On a much smaller level, I hate that I'm even bringing this up, but last night we watched. It's a movie on Netflix. I don't even know what it's called, but Zac Efron and Nicole Kidman are in it, and she's like old and he's like young, and she has a daughter, and it's called, I think the movie's called The Family Affair, and the girl works for Zac Efron, and then Zac Efron starts fucking her mom and falls in love with her mom, and that's the movie, is that, but like there's a message they throw into the movie, because the whole movie you're following the girl and dealing with like this scenario, her boss and her mom, she has a dead dad, of course, are banging and maybe falling in love, and like you're kind of on her side with it the whole movie, because you're like, yeah, this is the movie, this is an odd scenario. There's a point where she goes to her friend's house at like as it's like all falling apart for her, like her mom's pissed off, Zac Efron's pissed off, she goes to her friend who's been a part of the movie the whole time. There's a subplot in the movie that like the friend has a boyfriend that lives with her that's not, you know, like it's iffy, but you don't know much about it. So the friend, like, or the main girl character goes to the friend's house and starts bitching about like her mom and Zac Efron and like how she fucked it all up. She already feels like everything's ruined and it's bad and it's not going her way. And her friend just hits her with like, fucking, I don't remember the guy's name, but let's call him Gage. She's like, Gage is gone. He broke up with me a week ago. I told you we got problems. You weren't listening. Like, you didn't care. This whole movie's been about you. And I was like, wow, what a fucking message. Like, the movie doesn't feel like it's gonna hit you with that the whole time. You're kind of on the girl's side. And then this movie's not good. I just want to, it's fine, it's watchable. Like, I'm talking about it like it's like, whoa, this is the last 10 minutes of the movie.
What's the name of it?
A Family Affair is what it's called.
Seems fitting.
It's like, it's a fine, it made me laugh a couple times, but all of a sudden the ending just became like, hey, your problems, you know, aren't the biggest deal in the world. You don't listen when other people, like your mom, she's dating Zac Efron because she misses, like, she's trying to move on with her life, and you don't care because you just see it as your boss dating your mom. And it was just like, whoa, it was such like it was too good of it's odd that I can relate this movie I watched last night with Zac Efron and Nicole Kidman to Fight Club at all.
Right.
But it kind of connects with what we're talking about, where like sometimes you might be so caught on with what's going on with yourself that you're missing like what other people might be telling you.
Oh yeah. If you're
and she grows from this.
Caught up in your own head, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much I think it's funny that this movie was relatable, because as I was watching it last night, I was like, I can't believe I'm watching this fucking movie.
It goes back to why people don't listen to begin with, right? They're maybe having like judgmental thoughts. They're in their own heads about things. They're listening. Oh yeah, they're listening to respond.
Reasons, maybe, yeah,
not to understand.
Maybe not just because they don't care about you, but there could be something going on.
Right. I think we really missed an opportunity to dive into like to Chuck's background, right? Like why he wrote it, what his motivation was.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Especially for how long. I just didn't think about it until now. That's what it is. Like, we had the time. We just now. It's food for a follow-up. I mean, Ernie, we should do that and read the fucking Fight Club 2 and 3 comic and discuss that.
There could be
I'm sure it's not great.
Right.
But that's a good thing. I mean, that's having something suck and something, you know, good. You still have a lot to talk about.
Right. We could do more of that, right? Yeah. I think this episode really is focused more on just like what we got out of the book and the movie. And
then both together.
Right.
Yeah.
But next time it'd probably be more on like, okay, like this is our interpretation. Like what did he intend when he was writing it? Right. Like what was some of his motivation? And if I remember everything from interpreting literature, it's like a book, whatever literature or film or movie it is, like it's whatever it is for you. Right. Like it doesn't necessarily matter what the
Ernie, I don't think there's
was.
any more proof of that than our entire conversation here tonight.
Right.
like really, like, you know, like
I remember
it affects us both in different ways, but we are both agree that it's amazing.
I remember being in like Mrs. Gerber's class in high school, or like interpreting literature in college.
She's a good teacher for that.
And we'd spend all this time just talking about like a poem or a short story.
And you didn't get why?
Or it was just interpreting it, like the author meant this, the author meant that, and in the back of my head the whole time just thinking like, okay, the author had like a clear intention in mind, like there is an answer, right? But it's,
at least for the author. But is the author's answer, because it's art and it can be interpreted anyway, is their answer the true answer?
See, in my eyes, it was. I was just like, why are we spending all this time like guessing what Edgar Allan Poe wanted us to think? Like, the answer's there. Especially if the author was alive,
Yeah.
like you could just call up and be like, "Hey, like, what'd you mean when you wrote this?" And you say, "Oh, I meant this." Like, boom, problem solved. Why are we spending all this time talking about it?
But should you let that define it because that's what they think?
And it shouldn't, right? Because it's art and it's literature and it's film, it's whatever, right?
Yeah.
But this takes me back to that.
We went to college.
you could just call Chuck and be like, "Oh yeah, this is what I meant because I had this life experience." Okay, done, right? But that defeats the whole purpose of art, right? Or literature or whatever. It should be whatever you get out of it, like that's what it's supposed to be.
I think it's for me. I think I like to know what the author intended, and if I agree with it or not is if I decide if that's what I take out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is still, that's up to my interpretation. It's so personal what you get out of it, but I do care what the makers think. I'm a very like canon type of person. Like I don't like filler episodes of anime, and you know what I mean? That's a small level. Something like the meaning of what fucking Chuck Palahniuk meant when he wrote Fight Club. It won't change how I feel about it, but don't think I'm not curious what what he actually meant.
See, like to me, I'm just like a part of my brain that is very focused on like what is right and what is wrong. So if I knew that Chuck Palahniuk meant something contrary to what I got out of it, like
oh no, that would hurt.
It might change how I think about it. Right?
I
know I shouldn't let it, right? And I think I'm mature enough to know it wouldn't, right? But like I think like a part of me is just like, oh well, this is what he meant, so my interpretation, like this is the right interpretation because this is what the author said,
right?
But
you shouldn't.
But I shouldn't, right? And I think I'm mature enough to know like, okay, he meant this, but this is what I got out of it, and that's okay. Right, and that's okay.
I guess we'll find out after we learn some more about him on the next time we do this. But
But I just remember sitting in those classes and being like, why are we wasting all this time? Like we could just know what the answer is. Like we could just ask the person. Well, that's not the point. It's like, yeah, fine, okay, whatever, get it.
But don't you have like? I think it's because in high school you're reading stories and books and talking about authors that you don't really care about. But we're doing exactly that right now, talking about what do you think Chuck meant by this about a book we care about.
Right.
Like it is a fun thing. It is a cool thing to do. It's just in high school they give us fucking like Jane Eyre or fucking shit like
when
that.
you're forced to sit through it and you're just like, I just want to know what the right answer is.
There's so many books that they make us read throughout high school and college that I'm just like, I think I hate forever because they forced me to read them.
Yeah.
Whereas Fight Club was
just
our decision.
I'm just curious what Chuck Palahniuk's experiences were that motivated him to write this book in this way, right? Because like the words he's saying, like it's pretty straightforward, right? Like when he talks about like the material possessions and all those things, right? I mean, that seems like pretty black and white.
Yeah, the book is.
So what made him get to that point?
Yeah, right? The book is definitely more straightforward about everything it's saying than I even think the movie is. Like even just the way the book's written, it's very just like sentence, chapter.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
like it's so. It doesn't feel like I'm reading a book. It feels like I'm reading a journal.
Yeah.
Especially
because they're so disconnected and some chapters are like so short and random.
Yeah, especially the beginning bits, especially like the first 6 chapters. It is just like, I do this. I go to mental health groups. I met Marla. I met Tyler on a nude beach. I'm on an airplane. Like it's just like,
right.
If I hadn't watched the movie, I don't know if I would have been able to follow the beginning of this book.
Right.
Yeah.
I think like because I had like my own Tyler experience, right? I think it'd be interesting for anybody to have like a Tyler experience, right? To just step outside of yourself and recognize like what's actually important to you, right? And maybe it's taken to an extreme where it's focused on like material possessions, right? But just I think it forces you to just take a step back and say like, am I doing the things that actually matter to me in my life? Am I doing the things that actually bring me fulfillment and joy? Or am I just doing the things because I feel like I should, or because I'm like trying to compare myself to other people? Or am I getting fulfilled by things that really aren't fulfilling me, but I think they should? Yeah. Whether it's like items in a magazine or like, life status on social media, that type of stuff.
Yeah, which is huge right now.
Right.
Yeah. live as if act in a way as if you have the gun put up to your head, but you know that it doesn't have bullets in it.
Right.
Like,
right. It's exactly it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. That's why I love that scene so much, because it's like
it's a great scene.
right. Going to Africa was like scary for the first. Any new thing that you do is like scary for the first time, right? And like you can let that fear stop you from doing anything new for your whole life, and that's it. And you got like 50 years, and that's it, right?
Yeah,
You can just do what's expected the whole time, right?
Yeah.
But to have that like catalytic moment of just like, no, like this is it, like right now, like it's your life, it's ending 1 minute at a time, right? Like you have to take action. If there's something you want to do, like just go fucking do it, right?
Yeah.
That part really, like, that hits deep, man. I love that part.
I was, like I said, I was really worried that part wasn't going to be in the book, because it felt like it got past that point in the book before it showed up, which it was in the case of the book instead of the movie. But it is, yeah, it's also one of my favorite scenes too. It's yeah.
Looks like I was gonna be a veterinarian, right?
Yeah, I mean, you'd hope. Well, I mean, or somebody's gonna come kill him.
Or like what's Palahniuk's, but like what was going on in his life that, right? Like
then you needed to write that scene specifically.
Yeah. Like where is that connection? Where is that parallel?
Yeah, it would be crazy to find out that like he just had no connect. Like he just
wrote
this book. You know, it could, like, we could go look into this and it could just be that. And would that change how you view anything if you just found out like he just like he knew enough about the world so he just wrote this story?
Probably not, because
Okay,
I think that scene and just the whole like first half of the movie just resonates so deeply with me. I think if there wasn't a whole lot of meaning to it, I don't think it would change much. My anticipation is, or my hope is, that he would have had like a similar experience, right? And that my interpretation is like in alignment with what his is, right? Because in my head it's still like, oh, this is the right thing, right? My interpretation is the author, right? But no, I don't think it would change.
The
how
cool
I felt about
thing
it.
I think about the messages of this movie is that there are so many of them that I think like you can have both like your takeaway, because I completely agree with your takeaway, and I think there's like, you know, just multiple types. It's like a multiverse of takeaways you can get from this specific story. And I'd say he'd be like, yes, that is totally how you should take this.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the mental health, like you focus more like the mental health portion of it because you have more experience with that area than I do, right? Like I don't see that as much. Like that portion doesn't connect with me as much. Like you're saying, like all these guys in Fight Club, like they've got like these issues, right? And I don't dispute that, but I guess I don't understand that as much. I don't see it in that lens or perspective. I see them as just like, yeah, these are guys who are like struggling and are in the grind and like need some sort of like,
and here's the thing,
catalyst.
it's probably a mix of both. If you're being realistic about life, it's a mix of people that probably are mental nutcases and people that are just needing that little, you know, something to keep them going.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's wild. I would say during the Fight Club scenes, anybody who's just at Fight Club but never went past Fight Club to Project Mayhem, they're the people that took, you know, that you're thinking of.
Yeah.
And the people that followed to Project Mayhem, they're the ones that are like, yep, you got to go see someone or at least to get to a hospital. Somebody should be watching you.
They're the Nazis, right?
Maybe not I don't think they're the Nazis. No, not the Nazis.
That concept.
In Fight Club, yes, they're the Nazis.
Right.
But like those types of people, they need more help than Fight Club is going to give them.
Like, yeah, I guess my takeaway is like, okay, you have purpose, right? Like you're no longer connected to material things, right? But now on the Project Mayhem side, like on the back half of the movie, it's like, okay, well now they don't have purpose because their only purpose is like being a minion, being a pawn, shaving their head, having no names until they die, right? Like
that's things you own start to own you,
right? And now they're being owned by Project Mayhem, right? It kind of has like
you can't escape it almost
too far, right? Like you gotta stop once you have your Tyler Durden and your apartment is blown up and you're starting from grassroots and you only have the things that matter. Like okay, like just stop there, right? You don't need to become like a pawn and a minion to make everybody else fall under that same, you know, methodology.
No.
Yeah.
I
understand. Yeah. Putting it that way, I think it makes sense because it almost like contradicts itself, right? It's saying like,
I agree.
you're not owned by these things, right? But now you're owned by Project Mayhem. Now you've lost your sense of identity. You're coming with a shaved head and you're just a minion, right? Like
Moderation.
How is that different than like working for a corporation and wearing like a tie every day? They're wearing a uniform. They're all looking and doing the same things. It's no different than sitting in a corporate office. It's almost like full circle, right?
Oh shit, Ern.
Right? Like,
I think you're starting to go full circle with this now.
a little bit, yeah.
Oh no, I don't want. You're coming to my side of things, the negative side.
I understand.
Stay in the positive.
I understand
it's better
it.
there.
I understand the side more, just like talking through it.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
It's
That's
just,
cool, right here, right on the show.
yeah.
That's what I love about this movie. There's always more to figure out.
It's never dawned on me that way, how it kind of almost reverts back to what it's set to create, what it's set to destroy.
Yeah, like a what's that called? The snake that eats its tail. Ouroboros, I think is what that's called.
Not familiar.
Yeah. The snake that eats its own tail.
I think that's the part that you were more getting at in the beginning.
Probably.
The cult mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's entirely how I take this movie. You know, honestly, I've thought, and I've definitely, like, what you've said to me is your takeaway is not like, I'm not like, it's not foreign. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's there too. Absolutely. I completely agree. Because it's also something I love about the movie. It has both positive, negative. You know, it's the full circle. It's the snake eating its tail. Like, I don't think there's a wrong answer, which is why I guess I don't care what he meant, because I don't think there's a wrong answer to how this affects you.
How about
or what you take away?
How about the soap piece? Like, I see like posters. And I see like things that say like Paper Street Soap Company, right? And it's even like right there on the cover. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just used to make bombs, right?
Yeah, I feel like
why is there such an emphasis on soap?
I wonder if it has more to do with like at that point in time specifically, like in the 90s when the book was coming out, and like fashion and soap companies were like big, like. The type of fragrances and soaps you had were like what made you so popular, and that's why like Tyler makes soap and he feeds it. He gives it to these fat. They even say they give their own fat asses back to the rich people because they sell them for so much, but it's really just made out of like this fancy shit that you have. It's just made out of like fucking Marla's mom's fat.
Right.
You know, like
in the same way that like you think you're eating like a luxury meal, but there's really like
they're pissing in it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they think it like tastes great. Yeah, maybe it like I understand the food concept, right? Mm-hmm. But the soap part, like it just seems like there's such a heavy emphasis on soap in like the media.
Yeah.
For the movie, maybe not so much in the book.
It's a good way to. I think it's a good way to connect having something that is both, like what we just talked about, like a commodity. It's how he makes money. He makes soap to survive, but also. What you can make with soap is bombs, and it connects to like, you know, the beginning of the book and movie were led to a plot of somebody blew up this guy's house, and you almost forget the way both the book and the movie happen. Like, shouldn't we be concerned about who blew up his house? But you really don't care. Right. But you know from Tyler, like he knows how to make dynamite. A lot of the things that make soap go along with his knowledge of making dynamite. So I think soap is a good way to have like. You know, tell that story. He makes money because of this knowledge he has to make soap. He makes explosives because he has this same, you know, how he makes money is how he does everything, knows everything type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's soap. It's very easy. Like, look at that Fight Club soap. Like, it's, you know, it's such easy marketing. Like, boom, Fight Club soap.
Or like connected to the whole like the food portion of it, like selling it back to the people. Mm-hmm. I think that connects more to the materialistic side of things, right? It's kind of just a jab at like the people who really value expensive soap or expensive meals to make them feel superior or complete, right? It's like a jab at those people and those things. It's like, oh, you think you're so much better than everybody else, right? Because you can afford these things. Well, in reality, it's like
fat people and
your own liposuction, right?
Yeah, or piss in your soup.
Yeah. It's like a jab at those things and people.
Yeah, if anything, I would say Chuck Palahniuk is a guy that had a lot of feelings about a lot of things, and he put them in this book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're tied together, but they're so just like their own concept.
Yeah, it's like a lot of like interconnected lines of thinking all wrapped up into one piece. Yeah. Like so much could be said about just like the support group as its own entity, Fight Club itself as its own entity, Project Mayhem, the soap, the relationship with Marla. I mean, it's so like plateaued, but all is connected. But like sometimes the way it's all connected is kind of gray. You can almost look at each of the pieces and parts as their own. It's like a series of short stories weaved together into one piece.
Yeah, that is so interesting. The book in particular, you mean? I guess
both.
Both, yeah. Me thinking of book. I recently read a book that kind of made me feel just like that, and I didn't think about that when I was reading Fight Club. But now that you put it that way, yeah, it kind of does play like that,
right?
And it ends.
Makes it just. It's hard to get like one takeaway from it.
Yeah, I mean, we have been talking about it now for over 2 hours, and I still feel like there's still so much too. So like
more to be said, right? Yeah, because just looking at the box, I saw the soap, and that brought up like another point that I wanted to talk about, because I never really understood. I feel like I was missing something with the soap, because like I haven't looked into like, oh, I want to get like some posters, some merchandise because I really like it, right? But like I don't want to get a poster that has soap on it when it's just like, what the hell's this? Yeah, I don't get it. Like that doesn't mean much to me.
Yeah,
right.
I think it's like all of it. It's what you take out of it, man. Like you could take the soap as the way I just told you, or you could just see it as soap.
Right.
But
it can be nothing
the book definitely gives you more. The fact that the soap is directly connected in the book to Marla's not dead brother, but her mom's fat in general, specific fat.
Like, I wonder how old Chuck Palahniuk was when he wrote it, because the narrator reveals he's 30 years old in the book. So, I mean, that could be, I think that's like a milestone for people, right? At that point, if life isn't going in a way that you're happy with at that point, like, you could be, so maybe like when Chuck Palahniuk was 30, maybe he was, in that type of place, and
this is his way of interpreting it,
because the movie doesn't really mention his age at all.
No,
right? But it reveals in the book here I've written that he reveals that he's 30.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that had some sort of
probably one of those things. Yeah,
relevance.
You just in real life figure out how old Brad Pitt and Edward Norton and just plug that age in, I guess. But
or this one right here, right? If you don't know what you want, you end up with a lot of what you don't. Right. Like, I love that. Right.
Yeah, that's a good line.
Yeah.
That of all the like really good quotes that they add from the book to the movie, that's one that is not in the movie.
Like, if you don't know where you're, or another like similar quote, I don't think it's in the book or the film, but if you don't know where you're going, any path will get you there. Right.
Wow.
That's kind of similar to this, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you don't know what you want, you end up with a lot of what you don't. Like, just defining it, having like that sense of self, having that like wherewithal of knowing like what you want out of your life. A lot of that can be burdened by, in the 90s, right? Like material objects or magazines, but in today's day and age, like comparison, driven by social media, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I think it takes like emotional, and just speaking from my own personal experience, like it takes like emotional maturity and courage to even know what you want, be comfortable with that, but then pursue it.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe that's what Chuck Palahniuk was experiencing at that time.
Yeah.
Right. And Tyler Durden was just like his wake up call to say like,
I didn't know you were gonna go so hard all of a sudden. So.
I didn't know I was either until I started doing it. Yeah.
So let's back that up a bit.
Yeah. So talking about the end, right?
Yeah.
Like in an earlier segment we talked about, is Tyler and the objective of Project Mayhem really doing anything wrong in the first place, right? And we kind of had like different views on that, right? But some quotes here, like at the end when the narrator, after he knows he is Tyler, where he says like, my eyes are open. He says everything is going to be fine, and he says to Marla, the last line of the movie, you met me at a very interesting time. Right? Like, it's almost like he Whereas the book, it says it more ends on like the emphasis that you were kind of more drawn to, the mental health side of it.
Yeah, he literally ends up in a psych ward.
The movie is more kind of geared, in my eyes, like my take on it, like that his eyes are now open, like he sees that he was so consumed by these like material things and these possessions, right? And you met him at a very interesting time in his life where he was going through that transition.
He's making the transition,
and now everything is going to be fine, right? Like I parallel that to like myself in October 2023, right?
Sure, yeah.
Like going through like an interesting transitional time. So I think the book or the movie has this more like positive spin on it versus like
I'd agree.
The book is more just like, yeah, this guy's like a nut job and like he ended in a mental health facility and like that's it, right? But the film is more just like my eyes are open now, like I get it now, right? Like that was an interesting take, right? Just how different the ending is and what he says, because
I like the movie's ending more for sure.
Oh yeah,
I do. Oh yeah, I think even though I think the message is stronger in the book, I think the book has a bad, like not a bad, like bad, but it has like if it was a video game, that would be the bad ending. You know what I mean? Not the good, happy, hero ending. He ends up in a psych ward, and Project Mayhem's like a doctor at the psych ward being like, "Don't worry, sir, the plan is still going." Whereas in the movie, it's just like the buildings go down. He's got Marla,
and he's comfortable
Pixies
with it.
Is playing.
He's not like. It's almost like he destroys Tyler, but now he is embodied like the Tyler, like he's one now, right? He's like reborn as Tyler. Like he's not upset about the buildings collapsing anymore.
No, another thing, because this is more toward the book now that I'm thinking about it. Because in the book, the narrator just feels like he's more like he wants to be a part of it, whereas in the movie, he doesn't feel like he wants to be a part of it at all till the very end.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what's interesting to me. Like even like towards the very end, when he's in the van trying to defuse the bomb, right? And like the narrator is still just like very like against it, right? It's only after he kills Tyler, he shoots himself in the mouth, that then all of a sudden he's just like, well, now I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
My eyes are open, right? Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Versus like up until this point, throughout the whole film, it was like Tyler was always the one saying like, you got to crack a few eggs. Like, it's fine. Like, we're setting these people free, blah, blah, blah. Right. But now in like the last scene, he's just like, you made me an interesting time. Like things are going to be fine. Like that's just, it seems like such a switch, right? Like in killing Tyler, he kind of became him too. Like, and he's more comfortable with that.
He released his demons, but became all the good.
Right.
Like he became the good parts. He became how you perceive the first half of the movie and got rid of how I see the rest of it.
Right.
He's
still destroying all these buildings.
Yeah, bad shit's happening.
Yeah, bad shit's happening.
Like,
but he seems like it's the first time in the film.
There.
Right. It's like the first time in the film that we see him like comfortable with
anything in his life.
Right.
In control of exactly what he wants. Yeah. Which, not to take a step away from like the metaphorical of everything, but like, what do you think of the literal, like how that scene ends in the movie, especially compared to the book? Because through the book, you're hearing about this hole the author has in his face, like the whole book. He talks about it a lot. And he kind of shoots another hole. Like there's talk of the hole. So when he shoots another hole, you're like, he shot another hole. I feel like in the movie, it's the only part of the movie that still kind of hits me in a way that I'm like, I don't know if I like this. Cause like, why is shooting his cheek? Why does that blow a hole through the back of Brad Pitt? Like, why does that kill Tyler Durden in the movie? Like I almost get in the book why it gets rid of him. Which it doesn't really, but in the movie, they make it very definitive, like, this killed Tyler. But you know what I mean? Like, why? Why just shooting the side of his face kill Tyler? You know what I mean?
He had the courage to do it.
I guess. He had the courage to do it.
To face
it.
He had the courage to, like, face himself. Like, face what his own mind was pushing him to do.
Yeah.
Right. Remove himself, like go back to bare bones. Right. And that the whole movie, like parts of it he's like on board with Tyler, but a lot of the second half, like he's fighting against Tyler. Like he doesn't want to fuck Marla. He doesn't want to do Project Mayhem. Like he's so against what his own mind is like telling him, like this is where I'm being led. Like this is where I want you to go, right? And then he finally faces that fear. He says, you know what, like I'm gonna. Well, is he facing it? He's trying to destroy it.
He shoots himself, but he doesn't kill himself. Maybe he thinks because it might kill him. Whereas in the book, you know that he has this other hole in his face, whereas in the movie, like, it's the only time there's ever a hole in his face.
I was gonna say he's trying to face that fear, but he's trying to destroy that fear by killing Tyler.
Yeah.
So is he really facing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because in the books, especially since there's a 2 and 3, and I know enough about them, like, he doesn't kill Tyler in the book comic. But in the movie, it's very, like, he shot his fucking brains out. Blows brains all over the wall.
So is 2 and 3, does it stem more from, like, the book?
Yes. It's written by Chuck Palahniuk. Somebody else drew it. He wrote,
I see.
It's the stuff for it.
So the movie is kind of like, if you're looking at like it is a trilogy, Fight Club 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
The movie is kind of just like a standalone.
The movie's its own thing.
Yeah. Film adaptation of the book, of the first book, and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. So really, I mean,
which is good because the way the movie ends, you don't need to see. Like I said, I'd rather hear more about the narrator's life before Fight Club to see why he got to this point, as opposed to what happens next.
And there's more to expand on in the book because he's just in this mental home, right? Like in theory, like he could get better, and then he could go on to like the Project Mayhem, and all these followers are still there sitting, right? In the movie, it's kind of just like, hey, we're comfortable with it. You got the girl. Like, it's more like classic movie ending type of thing.
Yeah,
puts a bow on things.
Whereas when he gets the girl at the end of the book, it's more believable. Like I feel like he earned her. Whereas in the movie, I'm like, I don't care if he gets.
Does he get her at the end of the book?
Kind of. Well, I mean, they write to each other. Remember, she writes to him in the hospital. Her and the people from all the self-help mediums come to the building and stop him from shooting himself because they can't see Tyler. Very different. Like the ending's similar, but it does very different things, especially with Marla and the self-help groups.
Does he shoot Tyler in the books?
I think he blows he shoots himself, and I think the chapter ends, and then he wakes up in the mental home, and it describes how he's got anor hole in the side of his face.
Gotcha.
That's how the book ended.
Well, he thinks he's in heaven.
He thinks he's in heaven. Yeah. Yes. So the chapter ends with him. You think he's telling you like as if he's dead, but then you as the reader slowly are like, he's not dead.
Right.
He's in a mental home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, the way the book ends, it does make me wonder how there's two comic books that follow this up, because it's like, where do you go from like this guy in a mental health hospital thinking he's dead?
But in the movie, why does that kill Tyler?
Why does that kill Tyler?
Right.
That is the part that has always, since the first time, like I didn't care. The movie's so fucking good that like whatever. But also I'm just like, how did that blow Tyler? Like, wouldn't Tyler just also have a bullet through the side of his face, if anything? Not his back half of his head blown out?
Maybe it's just that he had the courage to face Tyler.
It's the only
face that part of himself.
It's the only way to physically show that scene in a movie and get that kind of message is literally show his brains blown out. It's just, I think it works. That's a part I think works better and more believable in book form than when I watch it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Sounds like we got a part 2.
It really does. I almost feel like there's more to talk about just with this one, but we absolutely have to make it a part 2. But I think we should look into this Chuck. I work at a library.
This is Chuck Palahniuk guy. Yeah,
Chuck Palahniuk, like more about his life and read those other 2 comics and like come back.
Right.
Especially just because of like I said, we're like a Venn diagram. I want to know more of like the differences we get out of it, as well as the same. Yeah, like unless they suck and we're both just like, those were bad.
What was his motivation in the original piece?
Yeah,
right. Or maybe even like talk about like this David Fincher.
Oh yeah,
guy, right?
Yeah, I mean he was a big name, I think, even before Fight Club came out.
So, like, was Chuck Palahniuk involved with the film production? Probably, but like, what was David Fincher's take on it?
Sure.
Like, so researching more on like these guys.
Yeah.
And then also looking into 2 and 3 and talking about that. That's probably like that could be like 2 separate episodes if we wanted it to be.
Yeah, probably could be.
So.
I'd like to aim it to be one just to see, but like you're right. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about David Fincher, but you throw him into the mix, and it probably does give us a lot to talk about. Huh?
This is based on the book by Chuck Palahniuk. Screenplay, yeah.
I mean, you got to imagine somebody that was maybe not the director, but even maybe the producer read the book and went,
right,
I'm inspired. Like you have to connect to something on some level to be like, I read this. Not only do I like it that much, I want to I have a vision for a movie for this.
Right.
You know?
Like, what did he get? He got the original work from Chuck Palahniuk, right? And then he wanted to make his own.
Yeah.
This is his take on it.
Yes.
Right. So understanding what both their methodologies are.
Oh man.
How it relates to ours.
Which this is something I wanted to actually say when I was planning this episode. I was going to bring this up in the beginning, but I guess I'm going to say it now. But like, the last episode of this podcast, I talked about the new Captain America movie. And
Blacked in America.
Yeah. And I didn't give the greatest of review on it because I said that it felt like the story was there. It's just the execution was not good enough. Like they could have, with what they had, they should have been able to make a better movie. And this book kind of made me feel like it gave me this is the opposite. We'll be all right. Okay. This is the opposite of that. Like where like the book, the story, I prefer the way they adapt, like the execution in the movie, the way the director executed what that guy put in a book, I find better and the more compelling. If anything, Fight Club the book is the Blacked in America book.
Right.
It's not that. It's a good book still. But it
like
gave me that.
This would almost be like the source content.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just feels like like somebody wrote a story and then somebody just did a better job with that same story.
Right.
It's kind of why we have writers that write for, actors or people on TV, like late night television. You have writers and then those actors say those things. Like they're just better at saying your shit.
Right.
This guy was better at saying his shit, in my opinion.
And Chuck Palahniuk agrees
and
with
he
you.
agrees with it. So.
Yeah, he even says
that means
I like the movie better, right?
Yeah.
So,
and how do you not? It's fantastic.
Yeah. But I think there's enough differences there that like where he's talking about like his age or the ending of it, right? Like I think maybe some of the like the smaller messages that Chuck Palahniuk was getting at, I think those were maybe replaced by David Fincher's vision, right? Where some things that were important to Chuck weren't as important to David, right? It's still like the source content is still like enough of what it is to be a similar work.
And I
there's
think
those subtleties
David
there.
understands that, speaking for him, I guess. But yeah, totally.
There's those subtleties there. So yeah,
totally.
Call it a wrap, dude. That was a good one.
Yeah, we should probably wrap this up. I should never plan how long I think an episode's gonna be. So yeah, shitters. Let's wrap this boy up. We figured we'd stop it right at the end of the movie. So thank you for joining us for another episode of Nurture in the Dark. I hope this episode affected you in some way listening to it. I feel like we shared a lot about ourselves.
Yeah.
Ern, thank you for coming on the show. If you have anything you want to say before we rat off.
No, it was great. Loved it.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing it.
Yep.
And any comments, and then looking forward to doing another one.
Yeah, we have a plan for another one. So if you enjoyed this Fight Club episode, it'll probably take us a little bit to do the next one, but we will get there. Other than that, shitters, you know the drill. Follow, like, subscribe, all that shit if you want to hear more. Nurture in the Dark every other Thursday. So good night, sleep tight, and do not let the shitbugs bite.
The shitbugs bite.
The shitbugs bite.